We're Arctic Monkeys. This is Don't Believe the Hype.
That rock and roll, eh? Ladies! That sound means it's the end of the round. Time for the bonus question. Cheers, dude.
That man just yawned.
What do you call it,
Don't Believe the Hype.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Don't Believe the Hype, the podcast that is dedicated to covering the entire discography of the band Arctic Monkeys in chronological order. My name is Justin, and tonight's episode is Series 5, Episode 1, where we will be talking about the very first track off the album AM, and the track is called Do I Wanna Know? But before we get into all that, first let me introduce my co-host and creator of this podcast. He is the man who has more than just a few aces up his sleeve. It's Dan. Welcome, Dan.
Hello. How are you?
I'm excited. This feels like a big moment. This is a big track and a change in series and change in look for the podcast. And yeah, I'm really excited.
Yes, these are the commercial years of the podcast to go along with. Really excited. This is obviously everything's kind of been building towards this being the, it's not like everyone's favorite, but it feels like the biggest moment of the band. Certainly, I don't think that could be argued that this is the biggest moment the band ever had, and so it feels like this kind of like it feels like a different, after doing like Humbug and then Suck It and See, it feels like this kind of different vibe where it's like this huge moment, and it's not like really dissecting into the lyrics and stuff because they're all quite straightforward. It's more of a, like the first album was, but it's everything's just bigger and sexier and funner, and yeah, it's just like it's going back to the fun. Do you know what I mean? The first two albums are very fun, and then Humbug was a bit less fun, and Suck It and See is quite sweet, although they brought a bit of comedy into it. But like this now feels like the fun back to the fun for at least this one. Back to the fun. So
It's fun to feel that transition because it's just a small portion of what you can imagine the band actually went through in that, but it does. You can feel it going track by track, album by album, and then this, just the excitement built around this. And of course they didn't know it was going to explode as much as it did and continues to grow today. But yeah, it's an exciting time. It's going to be a fun like 12 weeks that we got ahead of us to cover this full album plus B-sides. So a little bit more than 12 weeks. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And it just like, even this song, going back and listening to it a lot in the past week, it's like just a really exciting, I sort of recaptured that exciting feeling that I got 12 years ago when I first heard it, being there in the moment. It very easily captured me back to excitement. This album, every time I'd go away from it for a while and then come back to it, I re-get the vibes that it puts out. It is a very vibe album. And it makes me want to party, and have lots of sex now. Just party.
Well, it's a summer of AM, so
it's the summer of AM. Who knows what could happen? But yeah, before we get into talking about the track specifically, we do have some admin to cover for the new to go along with some new stuff. We'll do the admin, but I'm so raring to go with this track that I'm like, right, let's get the admin out of the way and get it out of the way.
Yeah,
and
like
we'll get it
housekeeping,
to
and
the
we'll
track.
clean up, and then we'll get into
So,
it.
but we
But
did
it
just want
is
to talk
very
about the
important
Patreon
admin,
initially.
though. Yeah.
Had a fair few changes, some that have been foisted upon us. What's the word? We had some copyright issues with some of the episodes, and Spotify kind of taking them down and stuff. And we kind of figured that most of them were like subscriber episodes, watching videos and things like that were sending the Patreon copyright issues. So what we decided to just take all subscribers stuff off Spotify and Apple and just have everything go through the Patreon page, because you don't get any issues like that through Patreon. And as well, you can just sync up your Spotify and your Apple to Patreon. I actually realized this week we have several listeners who do that, who pay through Apple to Spotify, because the money takes
okay.
longer to the money takes like a bit longer to come through, and it sort of said you have this pending from Apple, so people must already do that. So yeah, go and subscribe to the Patreon. We've got the features for this season. You get the episode obviously a week earlier, as always. You get the video episodes, so you get to see us, if that's a good thing. And then you get the extended episodes, which it'll include us watching the video, which we had, watch along of the video. You can hear the specially created AI covers that we make for each track. We both pick an artist and then create a cover for them through AI, with that singer singing them. Also at the end, we used to like playing out of an acoustic performance. That's had to stop now, but we can carry it on Patreon. So one change we've made is that we're going to actually watch the video as a watch along, rather than just playing it like the acoustic performance, and we can chat about it as we do. The pre-show album reviews, where we'll review different albums at the start. We just did a great pre-show chat about Brothers, the Black Keys album from 2010, and there was a lot in that to relate to the Arctic Monkeys as well, on this album in particular. During that discussion, yeah, it was very good discussion about that. And we'll be linking a different album, like we've specially curated each track to go alongside the albums. So next week we've got like Ashanti with Are You Mine, and then we've got Outcast with One for the Road, Dre 2001 for High, all that kind of stuff. So we've picked them all. Full kind of usually about an hour chat about that.
Yeah, it was about an hour. Yeah.
Well. Yeah. And then now as well, new feature, post-show debrief, where we just briefly say about how we thought the episode went. But now a new feature called It's Nothing on the Early Stuff, where we will talk about how the track relates to some of the earlier work that the Monkees have done, which I think is really interesting for AM, because I think it does link to quite a few. As well, if you come join us on Patreon, you can pay £3 and you get everything that I've just gone through, as well as watch-alongs and bonus episodes every month. We just did some over the break. We did kind of some stuff on the Reverend and the Makers songs that Alex was involved in, The Machine and other content. But if you pay for the £5 option, you also get our TLSP reviews, where we do a track or two from every Shadow Puppets. We've got the whole catalogue there. We've just finished Sweet Dreams TN, which I thought was a nice...
That's not motivation enough. That's the big one.
That was a bumper episode, and I would say it was a nice palate cleanser going into AM, because now it's like that was the last kind of bigger love song, and now it's sexy times for a while. So that was a very sweet episode where things got a little bit emotional at times, and now it's going to be none of that on AM. None of that on AM. Yeah. So for the £5 option, you get that. You also, when you sign up to that, you can select any song that has no relation to Arctic Monkeys, because we need all that content for this. But if it hasn't, any song in the world that you love, we will do an episode just like this one on it. Just the same format, but we'll do a deep dive into them all. Full track review, and we've done quite a few of them. And if you don't want to subscribe, but you like some of the stuff that we do, like the bonus episodes, you can go on there, and all video episodes are available for £3 to purchase. We don't have the audio ones available, because the lowest you can set is £3, so it'd be weird to set video and audio available at £3 each, I thought, because who's going to buy that? But if you want to message me and say, look, we'd actually rather buy the audio than the video, then let me know, and I can make them all available as well. So yeah, it's a good time.
That's a really cool feature. Yeah, that's a really cool feature, because there's some specific things that, like the submarine coverage on Alex's EP that he did for the album. And there's some very specific coverage that's done, and extensive kind of exclusive things. Like we said, the machine feature like that, you wouldn't really be able to find any other reviews or anybody else talking about that. So if that's something that you're really, interested in, then, that's a cool option, for just a one-time purchase.
you know, if this doesn't entice you nothing, well, that did open a kind of semi-discussion, personal takedown of the Reverend. So, you know, we got that there as well. And that's probably as good a time as any to move into the new feature that we have, where Justin said, wouldn't it be nice if every time we get a new subscriber, we thank them at the start of the episode for subscribing or for buying an episode? If you buy an episode as well, we give you a personal shout out. But so because we haven't done that before, it's a good time to give a personal shout out to everyone, even if you don't follow anymore, because we understand, you know, it's not always financially viable to stay supporting for a long time. If you have joined us, we're going to give you a little shout out now in a section called. And if you didn't get that, it's
Your
Dynamite. Your Dynamite. Your Dynamite. And the people that are Dynamite that we would like to thank are Jacob Adlard, who is a super subscriber who's been with us a long time. And he was actually one of the vestiges of the Spotify one who's kindly moved over to Patreon because we got rid of that. He's been a long time supporter. We also have Nula or Noodles. So I'm taking these from your email addresses and usernames that you give me. So sometimes I don't have your full name. I apologize. Also, the Straight Chillin', Justin himself supported us for a while, now host. So, you know, that's a key feature. Come subscribers. And who knows, you could be a host in a...
Might join the podcast eventually in a couple of years.
Also, Simon Love. Libby Pence, who has also been a long-term subscriber for us. She supported us for a very long time. I think we started the Patreon in January 2023.
I think so. That sounds about right.
These guys are long-terms. And we've also got Tom Cohen, Dizal, Felix Moore, Alina Marty, Eleanor Martin, Lilac Ames, Marnie McLean, Shannon Whitley, Louise Gallagher, who has been supporting us the whole time since we launched the Patreon. She's a super subscriber, and she frequently comments as well, some interesting stuff on the Taylor SP posts to let us know some stuff that we might not have known or whatever. So thank you very much, Louise. And Curtis Gray as well. He is also a super subscriber that's been with us for a very long time, subscribing. Who also was at the he was the listener, I believe, who went to the rearranged Dublin shows, the end of the car tour, and saw the kind of orchestra that they brought out for that. So yeah, it's cool. I believe that was you. And then we have also long-term subscriber Yas Kiran Kula. Thank you very much. We also have Sam, Antfer Sorensen, Lisa Flanagan, Tim D, Samuel Benham, Matthew Barraclough, Ben Warner, another long-term subscriber here, G. Kovalenko. And we also have Ross Hall, Matt Higgins. Matt Higgins, who was featured on the show as well, thanks to himself. Yeah, Higgins with attitude. Iwana Swidlika, Chris Gale. And also, to go through we have had some purchases of people buying. Kazra Salehi, if you're listening, you very kindly purchased 3 different episodes from the Patreon. You purchased Watch Along of Avatar Studios, Watch Along of all the View Froms, which was me on my own going through all the Helder's View From things that he did. The only place on the internet soon where you'll be able to access the P. Diddy clips, I imagine.
Oh, there you
go. Got that. We've got that on the Patreon. The legal team will be coming to us for evidence because we're the only people that will have it.
Shutting us down after that one. Sign up quickly for our legal fees.
Casfra also purchased the Coachella Watch Along of 2012. So thank you very much for that. Tom Cohen purchased Behind the Bars, which I feel a bit bad about because Tom Cohen was a subscriber who sat behind the bars, and because of a lot of our, tumulty behind the scenes, you may say, in past iterations, we never got around to doing it. And then I did it on my own last year. And you'd stopped subscribing, so you didn't have access to it. So you purchased it, which is very nice because you could have just messaged me and I would have made it free for you to access. But so I appreciate that. And also Simon Love purchased the Submarine EP coverage episode as well, which to be fair, we may be redoing some of those because Justin feels like we did too little on that.
Why don't they have their own? I just wanted more. Really, is what I want.
You just wanted more, yeah. I didn't know if we didn't feel it could sustain it, but hey, so maybe we might be doing some bigger deep dives on those in the future. So to all of you, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You're dynamite. And I will say one thing. Coming into the podcast fresh is. We really appreciate your support, and pretty much all that support pretty much goes back into supporting the podcast. So, trying to give you guys new features and just maybe like merchandise in the future and just like kind of new things to help out the podcast. So thank you very much.
Yeah, maybe we can always update, like when we do this segment, when we get new subscribers, and we'll keep an eye on it. So every week when we record, we'll shout you out. We are doing this in advance, some of the episodes, so it might take us a while to catch up with you if you subscribe after this. So bear in mind, we will get to you. If you don't hear for a few episodes, I'm sure you'll hear us do it. We'll update you on what we use the money for as well. We don't take any of the money out for our own personal stuff. I think, like you say, it's we'll use it. One of them is the platform that allows me to create the AI content is one of the expenses, and also Justin has just had commissioned for us by an artist a lot of new logos that you'll see out on the social media, and you'll see on the actual Patreon posts and on the episode posts on Spotify as well. You'll see them, but you'll also, if you're on the video chat, you'll see them in our backgrounds. Well, not mine yet, that'll be next week, but we'll see them in our backgrounds as well. So yeah, we use it for cool stuff to enhance the pod as well. But Simon Love, who purchased Submarine EP coverage, who's a regular Instagram messenger of mine with interesting tidbits, he messaged me after we had finished the series about our electricity episode, so we just have something to clear up with that. He sent me a message that a band, do you remember when we talked about where he says GTO?
Yeah.
And we kind of said, is it like the car? Is it called car? He posed another theory that there was a band called GTO. They were a girl. So here's the brief description of them. The GTOs, which stands for Girls Together Outrageously, were an all-girl group from the Los Angeles area, specifically the Sunset Strip scene. The group was active for 2.5 years, from 1968 to 1970, followed by one reunion performance in 1974. Their only album, Permanent Damage, was produced by Frank Zappa and released in 1969. They are kind of well immersed in the LA musical scene, and they sound a bit like this. So that's
very interesting.
It is very interesting because I can imagine Alex finding out about that band and listening to them because he likes kind of stuff like that, doesn't he? Like obscure.
Yeah.
I could see him doing that. And then Be My Baby, Be My GTO could be.
And it fits with the era. Yeah.
Fits with the era. And that stood for girl. What was it? Girls Going Outrageously, was it? That I just said, whatever it was.
Girls Together Outrageously.
Girls Go Outrageously. So Be My GTO, be with me together as a girl outrageously.
Outrageous, maybe.
Yeah, maybe could be. Yeah. So yeah, if anyone wants to check them out, the album Permanent Damage. Simon said it's an acquired taste, but I love it. So and as soon as I heard a couple of the tracks, I was like, oh, I could totally see Alex checking that
getting
out.
Into it. Yeah. I could see him going through the vinyl shops and stumbling across this or something. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But before we dive into a discussion about this track, because I think that's all the admin cleared up, shall we have a little listen to the track that we're discussing today? You heard a bit of it at the start, but why not hear another clip from the Red Bull Sound Space in 2013?
Spilling drinks on my settee. Feeling flows both ways. Was sort of hoping that you'd stay. That the nights were mailing paper saying things that you can't say tomorrow day. Crawling back to you.
It was so hard to clip up part of this song because it's all so cool. That it's
it's hard to just stop it.
So stop it. Yeah, it's very, and there's no logical stops either, really. But yeah, they look so cool in that clip. This was peak
Yeah.
them, wasn't it? There's really
They're still
Jamie with rolled
young
up
and
sleeves
healthy, but they like have found their space. You know, the late 20s where you're not really insecure anymore. You're not really searching for some look anymore. You're just kind of living and feeling comfortable and still young. And yeah, they look great. They look great.
Are you suggesting that Jamie has the skin of a Greek god in that clip, but now he looks like he's been carved out of a tree? Is that
Well,
what
you
you're
said it,
You're
not
trying to
me.
get? Is that what you're trying to
Your
say?
words, your words. In case they're listening, those are Dan's words.
Oh, we love you. Hey, Jamie, we're nothing on this podcast if not one of your staunch defenders. So
That's true. That's true.
yeah. You've had quite a change of. Yeah, we all
Justin
will.
thinks you look
Yeah.
look amazing
Oh,
and just as youthful
man.
as before. Dan is the one.
You look more amazing than most 39-year-olds that I see on the street. So but no, it's that this track is. I was trying to that kind of feeling of when I first heard it, and I remember because we'd had Are You Mine obviously like way before, and then there was like this talk of the album's coming out, and I think they dropped the video, and I can't remember how I first heard it. I think it was a video. I don't think it was like a Zane Lowe play.
I think the video was how I was first exposed to it. I remember it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like surprise coming out, and yeah.
I think so, yeah, and it's obviously we're going to watch the video in a bit, but it's obviously kind of an interestingly low key video. But I just remember hearing it and this riff, this drum opening, and then this riff, and being like, "Whoa, this sounds pretty interesting." But also being slightly like kind of wary, like, does it just sound like another iteration of Are You Mine? Like, I don't just want a whole album of different versions of the Are You Mine riff, but then just feeling it and then catching on the first listen some of the lyrics and being like, "Ooh, this is sexy, this is cool, this whole vibe." And I think everyone had that, not just Arctic Monkeys fans. It was a kind of hit straight away. Hence why they were bold enough to open their Glastonbury set with it, as we opened this year with. Like that. That was only 2 weeks after this song came out, brand new song not attached to an album yet, and you're gonna open your Glastonbury set with it, and it didn't affect the crowd. Were all in for it because it was such a tune. Everyone took to it straight away. It was on the radio all the time. This is probably, I know technically I Want to Be Yours has more streams, I think, and Are You Mine is like a fan favorite, but I think Do I Want to Know is probably the biggest song off this album commercially. Like it's one that anyone listens to. I've heard people playing it who have no affinity to the band, who I've seen
it's
Americans
hard to
say,
separate
"Oh, yeah."
the different influences, isn't it? Because now we know the TikTok and things like that and how it carries or influences in a lot of streams. But yeah, I would definitely put this top tier influential songs of theirs.
I think I Want to Be Yours is the reason it's got more streams is TikTok, whereas this was already huge. This was
before
the streams
that trend caught on.
Yeah, this was the most streamed Arctic Monkeys song way before the TikTok existed, I think. So it was already way up there. I know it had 1 billion quite a few years ago. I remember being like, "Wow, it's got 1 billion, fuck." It's actually got, when we get into the information, it's actually got way more than 1 billion. But if you count in all the different platforms, but obviously we're going to go in depth on the music and the lyrics. And if you're new to this podcast, by the way, we've covered the Patreon and that, but this is kind of we go in depth on every track. We go in on the music and the lyrics.
Each track has its own episode. That's got its own breakdown, lyrics, musically.
I think the three kind of staples, if you're new, is that we give you a lot of information, hopefully sometimes some insight that you might not have known. We go in deep on the music and we go in deep on the lyrics, and sometimes even decipher some songs that maybe you didn't know what it was about or stuff. We get everything. We cover everything, I think, usually every episode, or we try to. But shall we go into the information then? Because I'll tell you something, Justin. This song has a fuckload of information, if nothing else.
It probably has the most. It's assumed the most information of any song.
This is what lends me to think it's the most commercial song they've ever done, because I've never had this much pages of information that I've had for this one. So we may as well get dug in, I guess. Oh, actually, can I your first thoughts? So you would have found this one. This isn't like the old stuff where you would like kind of hearing it a bit later or whatever, or being like your auntie gave you the CD and all that from England, but this would have been like well on your radar at this point as soon as it dropped.
Oh yeah. After the first album, I was following along with each album. I remember, again, we talked about it in the kind of Electricity Are You Mine teaser, but I remember when this specifically came out, which is why I think it was kind of a surprise, because I remember being kind of caught off guard by it, and yeah, it was so exciting in the same way we talked about how Are You Mine and Electricity was exciting because of this shift from a whole album, Suck It and See, and we had Humbug and this kind of energy. But I actually thought it sounded quite different from Are You Mine. I remember when it came out, I wasn't too worried about it, but I was excited about it being a kind of darker sound, but not in the sense of humbug, in the sense of like something new. It felt like something new, familiar, but very new. And it was very exciting to me, even as a hardcore like Arctic Monkeys fan who followed all of their songs, all the demos, all the B-sides, Last Shadow Puppet stuff. This song got me really, really excited for the album.
Yeah, and I'm probably being unfair on my past self by saying I was worried about it being like Are You Mine. That's probably more something I've contemplated after than I thought I had then, probably, if I'm thinking about it probably. I think when it was on the album next to Are You Mine is probably when it occurred to me that it was a bit similar, more than... I think that happens twice on this album, where there's, in the first half, where there's two songs that are maybe so similar at times that they should be split up from each other, but not really. I don't think it causes a problem really, but yeah, I've just always pondered it. Is it because it kind of feels like a variation on the same riff? I think it's just the sound though. But yeah, like you say, it's completely. That's a rock song. This is a hip hop song basically. So I should ask as well.
From a place they call America.
Would you say, from your experience with radio play at the time and stuff like that, would you say this is their biggest song in America? Or I know you said it was a bit of a delayed reaction with...
I think it was delayed to what it is now, but I definitely recognized that more people knew just off the bat who they were. You didn't have to reference, like, Fluorescent Adolescence had some play even in the States, and in Cornerstone too as well, but I think this is where they started to become definitely more of a household name in general audiences, for sure, from the release of this song. And High definitely pushed that more going in, but
really?
I think this is the beginning. Yeah, I think so, but I think this was the beginning of it.
I didn't know High was a hit there. Wow, okay, that's cool. Well, we can talk more about that when we get into the music, but let's get into the information then.
The information action ratio is the place to go.
Do I Want to Know is the opening track on the 5th Arctic Monkeys album, AM. The track is 4 minutes and 32 seconds long, with 2.6 billion streams on Spotify. And incredibly, that isn't the highest stream on this record. But so this made the 100 most streamed songs in the streaming platform's history. And its music video has earned 1.7 billion views on YouTube, which means if you combine the YouTube, the Spotify, and the Apple Podcast, the worldwide streams is over 1 trillion. Which is absolutely insane when you think about it. Yeah, that is absolutely nuts, isn't it? Like, we've never hit that high before, which is like as much as like the I would say the first.
Wait, no, over 1 trillion?
Over 1 trillion, yeah.
What?
Yeah. It was in my research I discovered that it has over 1 trillion when you combine everything that it was on, as well as sales and stuff like that. It's crazy, isn't it?
That's insane.
Yeah, apparently that's what the interweb tells me in my research.
Whoa.
But, how is that, like 100 billion? 1 trillion?
No, 1 trillion. You would have to go. Yeah, you would have to go like 999 billion, right? So that's why if it's like 1 billion, 2 billion, it would be then 10 billion, and then like 100 billion, 999 billion, and then it would go to 1 trillion, right? That doesn't sound right.
It doesn't sound right, does it? But this was this was out there on several different sites,
okay,
including some credible. I think it's on the Wikipedia as well, which I know isn't necessarily like the credible one, but it was sort of backed up. But yeah, that does seem unrealistic. But who knows? Maybe that means like individual views plays. I'm not too sure on all the platforms. Like.
Yeah, so 1 trillion is 1,000 billion.
Oh shit. Okay, well maybe not then. Perhaps somebody could message us perhaps someone can message us and explain why that is.
We're not mathematicians, okay? We're just podcasters.
I'm just going where the research goes. But,
yes.
Yeah,
There's a lot. Let's just say that there's a lot of streams.
There's a lot of streams, but yeah, it's definitely well into sort of 5 to 10 billion. That's sort of where we're at. But yeah, I'm not sure why it says that. But I'll do some digging for next week and see if I can kind of confirm that any more than I already did. I don't take it lightly. This research, but yeah, I'll double
I'm
check
doing
that one.
backup research too, so yeah.
Yeah, we'll check it.
That sound means it's the end of the round. Time for the bonus question.
So Justin, at 4 minutes and 32 seconds, it is the longest song on the album.
Okay. That's surprising.
So I want to see if you can guess what the longest song on the next album is. And I can reveal that the longest song on the next album, because I went through the album catalog and I'm pretty confident with the B-sides as well. The next album, longest on the next album track is the longest Arctic Monkeys track ever.
Really?
It really is, yeah. Tranquility has the longest Arctic Monkeys have ever done. And I can only confirm that with the albums, not the B-sides, to be fair, but I don't think there's a longer B-side than any of the ones on the album, so. Unless I'm wildly forgetting about something.
I'm going to pull this up on Spotify, but I'm not cheating because Spotify does not show the actual times. It's just showing
Yes,
the
you have to go
titles.
onto the Spotify app on my laptop to get it. I can confirm that. It's
Yeah, so I'm torn between the opening track and the closing track, honestly, are my choices. So it's been a little while since I played Tranquility, but I will go with is it the longest ever Arctic Monkeys song? Is it the Ultra Cheese?
It is not. It is Star Treatment.
It is Star Treatment.
Yeah, you were close.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 5 minutes and 54 seconds is the longest Arctic Monkeys song. Yeah, and I think it's quite interesting that their longest song ever is also, I would say, their most polarizing song ever. I can't think of a track that has divided more people in the Arctic Monkeys universe than Star Treatment.
You know what I would have guessed if you had just said it's of all the albums? I would have guessed The Jeweler's Hands, which is, I guess, 5:42. So how long was Star Treatment? 5:45.
5 minutes 54. 5:54.
54. So it's just
Jeweler's Hands and Certain Romance were the ones that I went back and double checked specifically. But because they've never done one over 6 minutes. It's the closest they've got to a 6 minute track. So if the Body Paint like outro was a recorded track, then that would be the one. But that would be like a 9 minute track. But so yeah, there you go. Longest track ever is next album. So this track, Do I Want to Know, was written by Alex Turner and the Arctic Monkeys and produced by James Ford, and Ross Orton is back, baby. Ross Orton's back.
He's
in
back,
the studio.
Ross. Hey, he did a good job on on those B-sides.
He's back here to co-produce with James Ford for this track, at least. Nice. We'll have to see what other ones. But so, Do I Want to Know was released on 19th of June 2013 as the second single on the album.
Yes.
It received a digital. See, that's really weird to me when I read that, because in my head, this album came out in September 2013. But I don't know why I thought that. I don't know why I had that in my head, that this album came out in September. No,
this was dropped in like June, right? Or
do you know why I'm getting mixed up? 2013 was, in my memory, was three things. It was, I was getting high a lot. Okay. I was getting high a lot. Grand Theft Auto 5 had come out, and I was obsessed with that. And AM came out, and I remember you could do a trick on your PS2 where you put, or PS3, whatever it was, where you put, you know, like when you listen to the radio when you're driving in Grand Theft Auto, you could put songs from your playlist into it. So when I get in a car, it would be playing AM. So I did a lot of stoned, listening to AM playing Grand Theft Auto, and I looked, and the Grand Theft Auto came out in September 2013. So I think that's why. I think it's just a memory. And the fourth thing I remember is a very pissed off girlfriend, because I was just getting high playing Grand Theft Auto and listening to AM. But yeah, that was kind of what this album was, as well as then breaking up with that girlfriend and going out partying because of AM. That was kind of 2013 and 2014. And 2015 and 2016 and 2017 and 2018.
Carried on, Burpee.
Quite a few years. I as long as Arctic Monkeys toured and took the break for AM, I partied during AM. So until they sombered me down with Tranquility, I was just I was a mess. But But yeah, it was received a digital download release through iTunes. Remember that? Remember when that happened? As well as it must be one of the last times that happened, 2013. As well as an accompanying music video. Before its release as a single, the song was premiered by the band live in May 2013 on the AM tour, where it was often played as the opening number. Yes, for the whole tour, I would say it was played as the opening number. A point in which kind of I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like after it stopped being the opening for the AM tour, it never found its proper place in the set because it's such an opener that I always find it weird when you see them and you're about 40 minutes in and they start playing Do I Want to Know. It's like this doesn't feel right. If anything,
They
I
should
think it
have
be
always used
encore.
it for the encore. Exactly.
Yeah,
Encore
opening. The only place it fits is if you're coming onto a stage. Like that's it.
Yeah,
especially with
I
the
agree.
iconic at the start that I played at the start
Intro,
of this episode. That kind of anticipation build, and then they always used to do like a stop of the music, and then you go. Yeah, it was such a great opener that you can never beat that place for it. But the track is 85 beats per minute and is in the key of F major. Oh, this is the first time this has ever happened on this podcast, which just adds to the craziness of the information for this song. Is that I got conflicting reports. Some say F major, some say G minor. I was getting on different sites, different ones. It's never happened before. So let us know if you're a music. I don't really know the kind of stuff like that from just ear. But if anyone has the official, I think I'd stopped buying tab books at this point. Oh, this might have been the last tab book that I bought. You know, did you ever buy any of the official Arctic Monkeys tab books? I used to always buy them.
No, I didn't. I didn't buy any of the official tab books.
No, I don't know if I did. I think I did have the. I remember having the Suck It and See one because I used to just sit playing Suck It and See songs through my Vox amp. It sounded exactly the same. It was the thing. I loved it. But the AM, F major, G minor. I don't know. I don't know.
It's one of those. Yeah. Oh, that might be important to see. Well, I doubt because in Second and C we had major for a long time. But I think this one's going to be a little diversity. Yeah.
Which if up until Evil Twin, it does lend itself to this being a minor because it feels like the minors are more where the sexiness lies. Oh, I hope that doesn't
don't have a good
up.
ear.
Whoa, sorry, I'm gonna have to that sentence clipped up. I can't have that out there. I'm gonna have to edit that out. The minors is where the sexiness lies. I don't want that.
Oh no, that's come on, Dan.
When they come for the P Diddy tapes, that I don't want that out there. But so the song has been maybe they'll all be minors. Let's see for this album. We'll see. Although there is one track at least in this album which I reckon is a major, so probably not. Maybe number one Party Anthem lives in the Suck It and See verse, doesn't it? So I was interested to hear your thoughts on one Party Anthem actually. After some of your thoughts on Suck It and See, we will get there and where it lands in your listening playlists because I suspect that it lands in a certain place based off last series and Sweet Dreams TN that we recorded yesterday. The song has been played live 396 times, making it their 16th most played track ever. Firstly, on May 22nd, 2013, at the Ventura Theatre in Ventura, California, US of A. And lastly, on October 19th, 2023, at the Free Arena, Dublin, Ireland, which of course was their last outing as a band, and the one that our listener Curtis was at, I think, in my memory. It's pretty much as it. I would assume that means that from that first gig to that last gig, it's never been dropped.
I don't think so. I don't think it's ever been dropped.
It feels just as like a bigger hit as Dance Floor at this point, doesn't it? It has to be in there because it was such a big hit. Yeah. A trillion plays.
So a trillion. The more I think about that, the more I'm not so sure about that. But
I don't know when
it's still a lot.
I think because when I'm in the midst of compiling the information, there's so much, and I've seen it on a few things, and I put it in there that I didn't stop once to think that sounds insane until I read it out, and that's when I thought, wait. When
right? You said it, I was like, yeah, and then I was like, wait a second, and I don't know if it's possible, but
we'll come back for the admin of Are You Mine. We'll come back with some information on that. Although if you do want to message us with any information on that, then please do arcticmonkeyspodcast@gmail.com or at Arctic Podcast on Instagram if you want to message me. Although we will get to that later because, as I say, we are pre-recording the first sort of 4 or 5 of these, aren't we? Before you get them. So, we'll get to it in the second half of the album. The song was nominated for Best Rock Performance at the 57th Annual Grammy Awards in 2015, which still sticks in my craw that this AM wasn't nominated for Best album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
at least
strange.
Best.
It's still strange to
rock
me, though,
album.
even getting nominated for, Performance 2015. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the particular performance was. I'm guessing it was maybe the Are You Mine video, the second video or something like that. But I don't know the song. What am I talking about? They said the song. So it was Do I Want to Know. It was performance of Do I Want to Know that was nominated for Best Rock Performance. So does that mean it has to be? Is that category mean it has to be a live gig, or is it just like the best performance in a track of a rock? It's like a really weird category. Like that's a very specific category.
Yeah,
Best
because
rock
like, are
performance.
they just tracking all performances of all bands to see? It had to be like a notable performance. To what? They didn't play it at like. No, the Olympics would have been before this came out. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe there was some big festival that they track. I don't know. Maybe it can't just be like every gig they watch for some good performances.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. They didn't win it anyway, so. But why they weren't nominated for Best Rock Album, or hey, they could have been nominated for Best Hip Hop Album with this one.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah. Stiff competition at the Grammys for Best Hip Hop Album, to be fair. So, I don't want Kanye West running up on stage and taking the award off Alex and telling everyone that Beyonce should have won it, do we? So, in December 2019, the song was ranked number 3 on Guitar World's list of the 20 best guitar riffs of the decade. Yeah, not all time, because that would be obviously ludicrous, but of the decade, I would say, yeah, probably. Many say the song has a similar aesthetic style and lyrical content to their 2012 song Are You Mine? Sounds like I've just made that up because you disagreed with me saying it at the beginning, doesn't it? But that was already in there. That is
Yeah, it's a similar style.
It is more down-tempo while having similar guitar riffs. Pop Matters described it as a cleaner, slower burning Are You Mine, while also finding its stomping style to be a steadier take on the music found on Humbug. That's an interesting comparison, a steadier take.
That's something we might talk about at the end of this. Yeah, at the end of this.
Yes,
for our
for
special segment.
The lucky subscribers, we will have the special segment where we discuss the earlier tracks and how
it compares.
And there's the jingle. The song also contains the edgier sound found on the previous album, Suck It and See. Not quite sure what they mean about the edgier sound on Suck It and See, but there you go.
Well, actually, you know what? To be fair, I think I mentioned this in our Suck It and See wrap-up coverage, if you want to go back and listen to that. But All My Own Stunts, I always suggested that this was like the first precursor to this AM sound. So I would say All My Own Stunts, maybe.
Sorry, 1 second. No, I'm surprised that you agreed with that comment, but now that you have, because I suppose you mean like the kind of the faster tracks. I suppose like you could listen to like if you were going to do a playlist like we both like to do because we're sad of making our own versions of the track lists and stuff. Oh, we're really cool. One of them. In certain rooms would be really cool. In certain rooms would be really sad. I think.
Yeah.
And this podcast is one of the rooms where we're not sad. Hopefully, you would maybe have if you were to structure a gig with sort of AM tracks,
style songs,
and an Evil Twin and stuff. You would certainly maybe put like library pictures in there or do sit down. They wouldn't go out of. They wouldn't be a million miles away from fitting in with the world. You know.
Well, just All My Own Stunts has that kind of swagger.
All My Own Stunts,
where it's it's really like it's not fast, it's not slow, and it's kind of the guitar tones to me are somewhat similar to Do I Want to Know, One for the Road, and stuff like that. So All My Own Stunts would be the closest I would associate with it. So referencing Suck It and See edginess, I would be like, All My Own Stunts then.
Yeah, and you've said, to be fair, you've been consistent with that. You said that in the wrap-up, didn't you? About All My Stunts being AME. And I think, and by the way, if you're new to the podcast, we do have the whole catalogue. So go back and listen to all of it to hear our thoughts. However, you might have to subscribe on Patreon to get all of them. Because some of them are missing now, thanks to Spotify. But
we're working on getting those back.
We're getting them back. Yeah, as soon as we've probably this summer when we've finished doing AM, I'll probably download the episodes and try and figure out why they took it off and edit it out and put them back on. But if you go and subscribe on our Patreon, then you would get
the full catalog
them anyway. You get them all on there. Yeah. You would have so much stuff to listen to. It would be insane at this point. If you're always looking for stuff to listen to, then this is quite a catalog at this point. So, a 7-inch vinyl edition of the single was released on the 22nd of July 2013 with a B-side titled 2013, the best B-side they've ever done.
No.
The sexiest song about a year that's ever been made.
We'll get there.
Tell me I'm
get
not.
there.
That's that kind of so niche statement I just made that you can't disprove it. That's the sexiest song about a year that anyone's ever written.
1999. Party like it's 1999.
Oh, fuck. There's such a famous version. I got ahead of myself there with that statement. And then one of the most famous songs, sexiest songs of all time, is
by one of the sexiest artists of all time.
Yeah. I assume you mean the Will Smith cover version of that.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's no one else would think of any other version.
Take the goddamn Prince name out of my goddamn mouth. So yes, 2013 was the B-side, but on AM obviously it was the opening track. Rolling Stone.
Do you have that 7-inch? Is that a single that you have? Do you have that?
I've not been very good because I got into vinyls only about 5 years ago. It was when I moved into the place I'm at now. We decided to do a big splurge of like a couple of £1,000 on a expensive vinyl and setup, and that's when I kind of got into the vinyl world. So the singles are something that I'm trying to play catch up with. But you know, when you've got like a lot of albums you want to buy, it's hard to, you go, do I spend like all this money on the single, or do I just get like another album I want? So eventually, I think I'll get there. But yeah, and obviously some of them are harder to find. I imagine you can still buy this one like on the website or something, but it's one of those with the singles. You get 2 tracks on there. Is it, you know, if I'd have been collecting them as it went, then it would be more real. Like from now on, I will. They didn't really release any though for the car, so I couldn't.
That one moment, you're ready to
I'm ready to do it.
Along.
They didn't do it. So yeah, it's harder to go back and get everything than just go along with it. But maybe one day. Plus, I'd get 2013 on vinyl, the greatest B-side of all time. So Rolling Stone, right? I don't even believe this. It's just I feel like I've got to defend it when we get to it because I do like it quite a bit. It's not even my favorite B-side of this era. Rolling Stone ranked Do Want to Know as the 10th best song of 2013, calling it the highlight. It should be the best song of 2013. Unless there was some fucking track. Yeah. I can't think of many songs, but I am biased, obviously. Calling it the highlight of the UK Cruise Soul Rock Overhaul album AM. There better be nothing else in that top 10 from the UK, because there's no way there was a better track from the UK in 2013. You look up that Rolling Stone article just so I can get annoyed. Enemy later ranked the song as the 5th best song of the 2010s decade. So Enemy there, as ever, quite high. Music critic Steve Hayden said of the song, if Seven Nation Army is the most famous rock song of the last 20 years, then Do I Want to Know has to be the second most famous. Well, people think about that.
That's fair. I mean, Seven Nation Army, God, that was such a big hit too.
But is doing that 20-year span is like 2013 down to. He can't be going from 1993. That would be ludicrous. So he must be. That must have been said. Was that said after the fact? Oh, he must have said that like now. So I think he said that in 2023. So 2003 to now. Is it the second most famous track from 2003 to now? You know, I always think it's a shame because do you think if the Olympics had been like a year later, they would have done?
No, that's what I was wondering. That's why I was wondering if the performance was for the Olympics. Yeah, but it couldn't have been.
No, the Do Want to Know would have been the performance of the Olympics, I reckon. Have you seen something in this Rolling Stones list?
There is another UK song that's higher than this in 2013, number 8. It's James Blake, Retrograde.
Oh,
sorry. I just saw
it. No, thank you.
None of that, thank you.
None of that, thank you. That's awful. Do What I Know is definitely better. No question. So, despite a midweek on air on sale, the song entered the UK singles chart number 11, making it the band's highest charting single since Less Adolescent in 2007. Just to prove that we're not biased, by the way, from 2003 to 2023, Seven Nation Army being the most famous rock song. Arguably, that isn't even true, but I don't want to know being second. I mean, there's a lot of rock songs in that period. Like, you got a lot of Foo Fighters tracks, you got a lot of You know, you got a lot of Strokes tracks. You know what I mean? There's a lot of rock songs in that period that are probably more famous than. I mean, Seven Nation Army probably was. I mean, you know, it was using that fucking iPod advert, wasn't it? So everyone knew it. But
Yeah.
um,
I don't
or
know.
was it
Hip
using?
hop was like really big during that time too. Guitar
Was
bands
rock
were
specifically
fading
rock?
out. Yeah, I know. I'm
Oh
saying
right, I see.
guitar
Right,
bands were
yeah.
kind of fading
Oh
out
yeah.
a little bit.
I
Yeah.
I think definitely from 2010 onwards. But I struggled to see. There must be bigger songs from 2002 to
Oh, I see what you're
2013 than Do
saying.
I Want to Know. But maybe not. I mean, Dance Floor would
Maybe
give it a
not.
shout, to be quite honest with you. But some other Arctic Monkey songs would be up there. You know, First Adolescent, if it's classed as a rock song. But it was outperformed by the next single, Why'd You Only Call Me When You're High, which debuted at number 8. Do I Want to Know has spent 65 weeks in the UK Top 100, this being the longest run of any Arctic Monkeys single to date. That's to
There
date.
you
I reckon
go.
I Want to Be Yours has kind of trumped that now, probably. The single was awarded a platinum. Oh, no, it's not a single, though, is it? So the single was awarded a platinum certification. I forget which ones are singles because they release nearly every song off this fucking album as a single.
Pretty
Like,
much. Yeah,
this
there's
is
like
the most music
7
videos.
videos from this.
So I forget which ones they were, but I think I Want to Be Yours wasn't one. The single was awarded platinum certification by the British phonographic, and I say phonographic industry on 7th of February 2015, indicating shipment, it could have been pornographic with the local content on this song, in excess of 600,000 units. It is the first Arctic Monkeys single to do so. As of 2025, it is certified quintuple platinum in the UK. There's that trillion, baby. There's that trillion, baby. No, unfortunately.
The more I'm thinking about this, I don't think that trillion is even close. I don't think that. I don't think it's possible.
I mean, there's 6 billion people in the world, right? Or 7. So,
Yeah.
that would take a lot to
I
get to a
don't think
trillion,
so.
wouldn't it?
Especially the fact that like I Want to Be Yours hitting 3 billion is such a significant milestone. There's just absolutely no way anything would hit a trillion, I don't think.
Is I Want to Be Yours the most streamed track, or is 505? I can't remember which one is.
I think it's I Want to Be Yours. I
Wanna
think
Be Yours,
505's maybe second. Maybe.
There's such an interesting story when we get to I Want to Be Yours, particularly where it came from, those lyrics. Like, it's so.
Yeah.
It's such a funny thing, and I think has made John Cooper Clarke a lot of money.
Good for him, yeah.
Good for him, yeah. The song had moderate success worldwide, charting in countries such as Australia, France, Belgium, Ireland, and Israel. Ooh, controversial.
Wow.
In January 2014, the song reached number 1 on the Billboard Alternative Songs chart, the group's first number 1 single in the United States, and their first appearance on that chart since I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor. It peaked at number 7 in 2006. So this is the first time they got into the alternative songs chart in America. Wow. So yeah, there you go. It's crazy. It just shows you.
I'm kind of surprised Cornerstone wasn't there too, but yeah, okay.
You got a lot of people over there to get in that chart. You know, like that's why I say, like, we were talking about Brothers before, just getting to number 3 on the main Billboard chart. That's a lot of people listening to that to get there. Like, you know, to get to number 1 in the UK isn't even close to what to get to number 1 in America is. On 28th of March, the track became the 30th song to have occupied the Billboard Alternative Songs chart's top spot for 10 weeks or more. So it's only the 30th song ever to have stayed in the Billboard Alternative chart for 10 weeks or more. As of the 25th of October 2014 issue of Billboard, it logged 58 weeks on the alternative songs list, making it the second longest running song on the chart at the time. It also became the band's first single to appear on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, peaking at number 70 in March 2014. So we got in the main one at number 70. On the 26th of January 2014, the song reached number 4 on Triple J's Hottest 100 of 2013. And on 14th of March 2020, reached number 3 on Triple J's Hottest 100 of 2010s. In late 2023, for the 35th anniversary of Alternative Songs, which by them had been renamed to Alternative Airplay, Billboard ranked Do I Want to Know as the 18th most successful song in the chart's history. So there you go. So that kind of level, I think it's easy to forget when I say that, oh, that couldn't be the second biggest rock song of the 20 years. But when you look at that kind of stats, you're like, oh, yeah, you forget how big it was, you know. Because we get so many songs that are like 100 million of Arctic Monkeys, I forget how significant to get to 1 billion it is as a rock band these days. Like that's a lot for what you see when you go on other artists. So yeah, sometimes you forget the scale yourself.
Well,
But
and
yeah,
it's harder for us, I think, too, because we had been in it for so many years. Like I said, I was following everything: single releases, B-side releases, side project releases, EP releases. And so when a new song comes out, we're already anticipating it. But for somebody who never heard it or heard it for the first time or experiencing it, then it would have felt maybe even bigger, you know, because this is your friends are talking about it. They never talked about it before. You're hearing it in places you never heard before. Whereas we're already like kind of geared toward waiting for it and listening for it. So yeah, I think it is very significant to hear those numbers and just how, back in the United States and since dance floor and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah, like because obviously being from the UK, it sometimes easy to forget how significant it is to get in those charts in America because of the scale,
Yeah.
particularly especially as a British band. So yes, Australia charted at number 37 in my two favorite charts of all time. If you're a regular listener, you'll know what I'm going to say. The Belgian Ultra Top 50 Flanders, it charted at 33, and then the Belgian Ultra Tip Bubbling Under Wallonia chart, it went in at number 33. Someone tell us what that means. I'm still waiting for some Belgians to message us and let us know. Canada Hot 100 48, Canada Rock Billboard chart, it went in at number 3. Czech Republic, which hasn't been on before, it went in at number 75. France, number 45. Ireland, number 14. Israel, number 10. Italy, number 96. Boo, Italy, get sorted out. Netherlands, number 62. Scotland, number 12. Slovakia, number 63. Switzerland, number 66. The UK singles chart, it went in at number 8. And UK's singles at the end of the year, it was at 55 still by the end of the year. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? And it got into the a chart we never had before, the Portugal chart, the Portuguese chart, number 80 in there as well. So yeah, there you go. In the UK singles official chart, sorry, it got to number 5. 55 was its highest, not 8. That was the indie chart. US hot rock songs, 52. The US alternative songs, it got to number 1 in that Billboard chart, and the US rock airplay Billboard chart, number 1. So there you go. There they all are. There's a lot, man. There's a lot of stuff. Lithuania at charted number 63. The song's getting everywhere. But 85 in Poland. Wow. Everywhere but Korea, Justin. Tell them to sort it out, man.
Yeah, that's true. Well, if they tour here, maybe by the time they're touring again. Oh yeah.
Why are you telling the guy with the American accent?
Yes. Yeah, if my goal is this podcast will get so big, but by the time they tour again, they'll want to come to Korea because they'll have a connection here. Me, of course, I'm gonna show them around and everything.
I don't know if I'm going to have any voice left by the end of this episode. I feel I'm going to have to talk so much. And then tonight I'm going watching the semi-final second leg of a football game, and I'm going to be shouting during that. So tomorrow it's a good job we're not recording tomorrow. Alex Turner told Cube magazine about the song. We had this idea for a record where you take the compositional perspective of an R&B producer and apply that to a 4-piece rock and roll band, manipulating our instruments to make a building blocks for the song in a way I'd imagine Timbaland or someone constructs music. That's one way of looking at it. The other way is we just made it up. Everyone honest. I had this tune in my head like, you know what I mean? We got a good end of that bargain, I think. So I think he's doing himself down there. I think it was a calculated, let's do an R&B kind of manipulation. Or at least it turned into that during the recording, rather than maybe beforehand they went into that way. Yeah. But he's ever got the northern sort of,
humble,
doing yourself that humble.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Do I Want to Know was used in a 2013 Bacardi commercial. There's your money. And it was also used in September 2014. The song was used in the pilot episode of ABC's TV series Forever, a film that I imagine didn't get picked up. And it was also used in the 5th episode of Israeli series Ish Hashov Miod. So sorry for butchering that if anyone is listening, but it's that's interesting. It was obviously quite popular in Israel then, which don't stop listening just because we're talking about Israel. It's fine. We're not fine. We're not political. We're not political. An instrumental version of the song is used in the second season of finale of the BBC series Peaky Blinders. That guy who writes that show loves Arctic Monkeys. It's just
I love Arctic. There's a lot of Arctic Monkeys. Yeah,
it's one of the reasons I don't like the show is because I just can't. I can't watch a show set in the 1800s that then has Do I Want to Know come on. It makes no sense in my head. The aesthetic's all wrong. I'm a stickler for that kind of stuff. The song was also present in Ubisoft's 2014 game The Crew as one of the songs in the in-game radio. So there you go. This song got about. Okay, Justin, are you ready? This song was sampled and covered by so many people that I couldn't couldn't possibly get all the clips. So what I've done is I've just selected ones that I thought were interesting. So first of all, we have a song. It was sampled in a song called "No Harm Is Done" by Christine and the Queens featuring Tunji. Now, here's my theory on a lot of these, because I didn't clip this up, because I couldn't hear when I listened to it any sort of part of Do I Want to Know. What I think is people have sampled the drum, the sampling drum, and that's where it comes from, because I cannot, for the life of me, like hear any of it in that. So I didn't clip it up. So I thought, well, I'm not clipping it up. Same goes for a song called Places We've Never Been by Trey Capital. I think it might be the drum that's sampled.
Okay.
However, there was a song called Peasant, #Peasant, or Passant, by Tactica featuring DJ K Turnaz, which we'll listen to now.
CPI, spoiler au mic, j'suis pesant. Classique comme Miami Vice, rap avec acharnement. On maintient le suspense. #Breaking Bad, sentiment d'urgence. #insaisissable, j'drop des missiles aidés. Bombe sonore du crime aidé. Le rap est pas mort, j'ai libéré. Au sommet de mon art, t'es sidéré.
So there you go. There's
hip
that.
hop there. Okay.
Do you know what's interesting about that sample is the very start, is exactly how Arctic Monkeys use it in the "Why Do You Only Call Me When You're High" video. If you remember at the start when they're in the bar drinking, "Do I Want to Know" is playing in that kind of background bar sound, like in a bubble underwater. Yeah, so I don't know whether they sampled like that bit of it or whatever. But
the video portion.
But yeah, interesting. It was also used in "Back to You" by Sugar Hill featuring Lutron and M.O.B. I went on a deep dive to find this because I couldn't find it anywhere, and I still couldn't, because I thought it was the Sugar Hill Gang. So I was really excited by the idea of them sampling it, but it's not. It's just Sugar Hill, I realized. So it was a complete waste of my time. It was also sampled by Extreme Meme Music by Dayman Our Savior, which I couldn't find. And now this one is interesting. It's Sober Mind by Mona Leo. And I put down in my notes, interesting. So let's see what I meant by that.
Sober mind, no, I don't mind. A sober mind, sober mind. Sober mind, no, I don't mind. A sober mind is fine. Ay, the mind is a terrible thing to waste, so you should tighten up. And when you get that through your head, then you might lighten up.
That's
cool.
I
like the piano version. It's cool, isn't it?
Really fucking cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I like about covers or samples, of just like taking it, you recognize it immediately, but it's completely transformed in a new way. That's great. That was really great.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? It's just one of the things that always makes Arctic Monkeys themselves covers stand out, is they kind of do something with it, don't they? They make it sound like them, you know? But never more so than the Drake cover that we will no doubt cover on our Patreon, which is probably they basically just became a song on AM, right? When they did it, when they did the Drake song, like that's what they just turned it into an AM song. But that is Sober Mind by Mona Leo, which is certainly it's an airworm as well. For about an hour after I clipped that up, I was going Sober Mind to myself. Sober Mind.
I like that a lot.
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
cool.
my playlist.
It is on YouTube. It may be on Spotify. I don't know, but it is on YouTube.
Okay.
Neka Zvako Zina is a track that sampled it by Biogradsky Syndicat, which I'm sure I just butchered all of that, but I couldn't. It wasn't worth getting a clip of that either. It was covered by Hosier,
So many people.
the band Hosier. Yeah, so many fucking people, but it was covered by Hosier. So let's have a listen to that.
Till I fall asleep, spilling drinks on my settee. Do I wanna know if this feeling goes both ways? It's sad to see you go, sorta hoping that you'd stay. Darling, we both know.
It's a very divisive cover, I will say, amongst Arctic Monkeys fans.
Yeah, are you a Hosier? I've never really listened to Hosier, so I don't know
Pieces,
much about them.
not full albums. Pieces. There are key songs that I have saved. I could probably put together a whole album of the songs that I've saved, but yeah, I've never just sat down and listened.
I'm not sure what the divide is, but I think I sit somewhere in the middle in that I think musically it makes it into a less cool song by making it a bit sound like a sort of soppy, angsty song. It very takes away the sexy coolness of it. But I will say he has a fantastic voice for performing the lines
voice is
quite
amazing,
emotionally. So yeah, I'm somewhere in between. I think this song is so fun that you can't, even though I want to hear people doing their own version of it, I don't want the fun snapped out of it because it is.
Yeah.
That was kind of that was good about the sample with the piano is it still can have that kind of cool vibe to it, you know, hip hoppy. It was also covered by so I haven't clipped up all the covers. I have clipped up the next one, but some of them, if I felt, I'll read them out. But if I felt that they were like too similar, then it wasn't worth it. But I did clip up churches with the V instead of a U, covered it, and let's have a listen to that.
Do I wanna know
If this feeling flows both ways,
so to see it go?
sort of hoping that you'd stay.
Baby, we both know
That the nights were mainly made for saying things that you can't say tomorrow day. Crawling back to you. If I thought of calling away.
That is one of my most frequently listened to covers of this song, I will say.
The lead singer there, or the girl in Churches, she looks like a 15-year-old girl that's been dragged to go to somewhere with a family that she doesn't want to be and sing for everyone. She looks so pissed off.
I think she's addressed that, I think, in interviews before about just
Oh,
her
really?
general overall. Yeah, she does look quite young, but she is an adult. Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah. We don't want to. There's already been too many P Diddy mentions in this episode. We don't need to know. I like it. It's got a cool kind of vibe to it. Again, it kind of takes a bit of the fun out of it, but it keeps more of the fun than the Hosier one.
Yeah.
This was also covered by Daly, but it was way too similar to the kind of Hosier one. It was quite downbeat and stuff, so I didn't think it was worth listening to. However, the next one is probably the biggest artist, I think, to cover it, commercially so. And my favourite one that I listen to a lot is Dua Lipa covering it on the BBC Live Lounge.
If you wanted to, do I wanna know if this feeling flows both ways? Sad to see you go, sorta hoping that you'd stay. Baby, we both know that the nights are mainly made for saying things that you can't say tomorrow day.
Yeah, I really like that. She's got such a powerful voice, but you know, I really struggle with covers of Arctic Monkeys songs. You know, it's like your favorite band, and you kind of hear someone else doing it, and you're like, no, I don't want to hear that. But I really love the way that she does that. And there's a cool video on YouTube that maybe I'll edit into the show. The full thing. But it'll probably only be for subscribers though. So come and subscribe because we'll probably get the copyright.
Because I'll take us down, yeah.
but someone made on YouTube, it's Alex doing an acoustic version of it and Dua Lipa, and they've stitched it together so it looks like they're kind of duetting together, doing lines each. So it's pretty cool, that cover. And there was one time when I saw it and I thought it was real and I got really excited and then realized it was two different because they were both like in a similar studio. So I was like, yeah. What do you have any thoughts on that? Do you like that one or?
Yeah, I like it. Again, everyone's got like this slight change to it. So that one is they're playing it faster, but it's with the piano, so it's got a like different vibe. Yeah, so it's cool changes.
Yeah, I kind of like because of the nature of her voice, it's still got a bit of swagger in it, but it's quite emotional as well. You know, this was also it was also covered by MSMR. And it was also covered by Music Box Mania, which is just like where they take songs and put them into like sort of kiddie things. It was also covered by Up Silakbo featuring Michael Lyo, Kia Oregon, and PJ Dizon. I couldn't find that. Serene covered it. Cedric Melancon covered it. Million Miles covered it. None of them seem worth clipping up. Techno and Tequila covered it, which was just a sort of techno version, which was
techno remix.
Again, it wasn't worth it. Believe me, it wasn't worth it. And Midnight String Quartet. But however, the Vitamin String Quartet did do a version of this, and it has to be said that it's an orchestral version. I thought we'd have a look. interesting. You know, it
Ah,
reminded me
nah.
of. You
I
know, it
don't
reminded me
like
of
that
though. There's an orchestral version of a Metallica song which is really good. I can't remember which one, but it reminded me of kind of that. You could kind of use. I think I think you could use like some Arctic Monkey songs really well in orchestral versions in like film and TV if you wanted to, because some of them really adapt with a nice sound, which is quite strange, particularly like some of the later stuff. But yeah, that's it. That's the covers and the probably the most covers and samples that we've ever had, and maybe that we'll ever have again.
I think
I would
probably.
imagine.
I think this
I think
is
probably, yeah.
this is
Why do you only
might
think?
be. I would say maybe as a hot take. You want to hit the jingle?
Oh, the hot take. You've thrown me off course.
She flicks a red hot revelation off the tip of her tongue.
In some way, I think maybe this is the catchiest Arctic Monkey song that's ever been written. I think it's the easiest one to cover amongst all Arctic Monkey songs.
Well,
Future
yeah.
Yeah.
We did a lot in Brothers before, talking about hooks and stuff, and also like R&B, hip hop. They have these kind of beats that stick with you, and that's what it is, right? So it's an R&B
Yeah.
beat. And they stay with you, don't they? But
The
yeah,
guitar
I
lick
think you're
stays
probably
with
right.
you. The melody stays with you. I think this could easily get this. This is probably the one that I just hum. I'll walk around the house. I'll be doing chores and I'll be humming it just like for the next
Yeah.
week. I'm going to be humming this song, just
Yeah,
not even
definitely.
thinking about it.
And you know, I think if I was to make a prediction of if there was a song that was going to come close in the amount of covers and samples, the only one I could imagine, particularly samples, would be "Why Do You Only Call Me When You're High." Might have been sampled a lot, but let's see. I'd love to hear a rapper sample that and rap over it. to be
Not
honest,
cover
but
a
yeah,
lot, but there is a lot of samples for sure.
samples. Yeah. There is a very notable cover of that song,
Yes.
where it changes it completely by an Arctic Monkeys related artist. So we can't wait for that when it comes
That's a
up.
cool one, yeah.
Yeah. But shall we have some information on the gear, which is the most information I've ever had on the gear as well. So let's get into it.
Technological advances really blooming get me in the mood.
It's so funny, the clips, because we at the minute with like Alex is like calling back to you, and he's like technological advances really blooming get me in the mood. There's such a change coming. It's insane, really. So I do want to know, Alex Turner uses the Gretsch G61 28T Duo Jet for live and recording, and he uses a Vox 12-string guitar in concert. The 12-string guitar is the secret sauce of the song. He also uses a 1962 Gretsch G61 28T Duo Jet. Sorry, that's just a complete repeat of what I just said. I apologize. A Vox Starstream 7 and a Gibson Les Paul Custom. Turner uses a Coopersonic valve slapper
There it
dual
is,
valve
making a
distortion
return.
pedal. There it is, it's coming back for the Do Want to Know tone, among other pedals and amps. He also uses a Proco Whiteface rat pedal and a Big Muff.
He's still using the rat pedal. Wow.
That pedal
I
is so
thought
funny.
that died. Yeah, I thought that
No,
died.
the rat
in
pedal's
like
back,
the
baby.
first album. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's on the panel board, baby. Jamie Cook plays a Fender Telecaster 62 reissue, and he uses an MXR Distortion Plus, an Electro Harmonix Big Muff. I'll never get over the tie. I used to have one. It just made because muff is a word for vagina in the UK. And
Yes.
at least for a while, he used a T-Rex Dr. Swamp twin distortion pedal. There you go. Alex Turner's amp of choice was an orange AD30, which has been discontinued now. And the closest equivalent these days, if you do want to get it, is an orange Tremlord 30 combo amp. As I was going through this art gallery last night, which makes me sound way more sophisticated than I am, there was a display of a little mini orange amp in the gallery, and it's still my favorite amp design. It's beautiful.
I would say the same, yeah. Vox and Orange compete back to back. I actually had a Vox, but I tried to buy that same Orange for a while, but yeah, they discontinued it, and it was quite expensive.
Yeah, I think I had the Vox AC30 during the second C days to get that kind of sound, yeah. They also use a Ludwig Black Oyster Pearl Black bowling ball wrap kit for the drums. We've finally got something we never get information on the drums. So it's the drums. I thought that was a pedal when I was saying it, and then I realized it was a drums. Ludwig Black Oyster Pearl Black bowling ball wrap kit, 22 by 14 inch kick pedal, 13 by 9 rack, 16 by 16 floor toms, Ludwig 402 snare, Zijan 24-inch Master Sound hi-hats, Avidis 18-inch fast crashes, Avidis 20-inch crash ride, DW 9000 series hardware, Evans heads, Veta 3A sticks, Zijan Dark Cage 20-inch crash ride, 18 crash, 14-inch hi-hats. Sorry, did you have something?
No,
well,
that's an extensive list.
And specifically for this track, a Roland SPD SX sampling pad, you know what that's for, and an LP Cyclops jingle tambourine, which I was wondering if the tambourine was in this later on in it. Yeah,
I made a note with the tambourine. Yeah, I did make that note.
And Mr. Nicholas O'Malley, who also we struggle to get information on usually, is a 78 Fender P bass, a Fender Bassman, Skychord Truck Loud, an Electro Harmonics Micro Pog, Z-Vex Woolly Mammoth, only for Do I Want to Know. He only used that for this song, so it's that kind of bass tone, which I'm looking forward to talking about in the music, is that particular bass tone and what you think about it.
Yeah.
Boss TU2 tuner and a Morley ABY foot switch. Woo! That's the soak it in, people. That's definitely going to be the most info you're ever going to get, I imagine. But maybe actually, no, Tranquility might fucking bring in some mad stuff. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. So, yeah, certainly for this album. So let's go to a segment in the show that we all love.
You could say they're selling like ghost cookies.
All right. Well, there's so many, Justin. But let's start with the.
Oh my god.
I don't want this to sound incredibly insulting to other countries, but let's start with the big hitters. I'm only going on numbers there. I'm not talking about on world stage. You know, although UK. 6-time platinum. How many do you think it sold?
6-time platinum, so that would be... Hang on, I think I memorized this.
Trying to apply logic to where there is no logic.
Yeah. So then... Wait, what are my numbers here? 3 million? Am I doing the numbers right?
That's pretty... That's
yeah,
pretty good.
3 million.
Pretty
okay,
close.
yeah.
3.6 million. So that's,
okay, 3.6. All right.
The United States, your homeland.
Yes.
The land of the free for some.
Wow.
7 times, for some, historically in the past, maybe. 7 times platinum.
7 times platinum. So then 7 million.
You were correct, bang on correct. Well,
fuck yeah!
Bang on 7.
Isn't that logic?
That's 2 you've got now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you got one previously. I think.
The UK pretty. Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. On
electricity,
I think.
Electricity.
Are you which is technically Are You Mine? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go to a place that is actually the land of the free. Canada. Diamond. He went diamond in Canada.
Diamond is higher than platinum, right?
It may be, but you got to factor in country size, I think, when you do this.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so
the number
Canada
may not be bigger.
I'm curious to say but I'm curious how many platinums it takes to get to diamond. So I'll just say
bright like a diamond.
In Canada, then I'll say 1 million.
800,000.
Pretty close.
Let's go next to Germany.
Okay.
Gold. It went gold in Germany.
500,000.
No, 150,000.
Oh, so much lower. Okay.
Yeah. It's so unpredictable. It's so unpredictable. Let's go to Italy.
Okay.
Fafa Napoli. 2 times platinum.
2 times.
I'm just going to insult as many countries as I can.
I'm gonna say 100,000.
You would be correct. It is 100,000.
Yes. I'm going by the size of the country and just trying to guess is it 50,000? It's 100,000. Okay. Nice.
Let's go to Do I Want to Know? Sexy and Dangerous. Mexico. Where it went 2 times platinum and gold.
2 times platinum and gold.
And if anyone's insulted by the Mexican Dangerous, come on. But I said sexy as well.
150,000.
That's insane. How are you getting these? That's exactly right.
I was like, it's got to be a similar size to Italy. So if Italy was 2 times platinum, that would be 50,000 times 2. But then the gold added on top would be the extra 50,000. Yeah.
A lot of these are first-time contributors to the Ghost Cookie segment as well. And one is next. Portugal. Where it went 6 times platinum in Portugal.
Oh, this got to be so much smaller though. So 6 times platinum, I'm gonna say 80,000.
120,000.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Not too far
yeah.
off.
You can buy drugs legally in Portugal, so maybe that explains the sexy,
Okay.
sexy times that this album brought to the people. Spain, close to close.
Okay,
3
but
times
bigger.
platinum, but bigger. 3
So
times
3
platinum.
times platinum. I'm gonna go 150,000 again.
180,000.
All right.
Okay. Let's see next. Last few. Let's go Belgium. Let's go Belgium.
Okay.
Yeah, gold.
Gold.
They've got good chocolate. but they buy a lot of stuff.
20,000. 20,000.
It is 20,000. That's nuts. People are going to start thinking you're cheating, Justin. Not me, but
Yeah.
people are just going to say, yeah.
It sounds the people out there are talking. Oh,
People
man.
are talking, yeah. Let's go to Australia. Bigger.
Okay.
A lot of land without population, though, crucially.
Yeah.
Platinum.
Then I will guess 100,000.
70,000. Far off.
Okay. All right.
And I think it's because the last one deserves an
You
announcement.
could say they're selling like ghost cookies.
It wasn't a country that was on my radar, but Greece. This went 3 times platinum in Greece.
3 times platinum.
And I would be shocked if you got this. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Oh, well, then I was about to say the answer, but I'm going to change it now.
Wait, what were you going to say? But we won't take it as your answer, but what were you going to say?
I was going to say 60,000.
Okay.
But I'm going to change it now because of what you said. But if that's guess, I'm still going to count it. So 3 times platinum, then I'll say 30,000.
The reason I stopped you when I thought you said 60,000 is because I heard the 6. I heard the 6. It wasn't correct, but you're not going to believe this. 6 million units it sold in
What?
Greece. I know, that's insane, right?
That's
and I think
crazy.
I should crucially say that we are in the world where now streaming is probably being added. In fact, it is being
Sure,
added to
but
these figures as well.
still,
So
wow.
6 million,
Okay.
yeah. Crazy,
No, I was
right?
not going to say 6 million. I was not going to say that. Okay. All right. But I did pretty good though. All right.
That was pretty good, yeah. You got about 4 or 5 out of there, didn't you? So
yeah. All right.
pretty good.
I think around electricity when you were doing, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to keep these in my mind and gauge by the size. So, all right, cool.
We'll keep it posted because AM will no doubtly have a lot more of them on here.
Yes.
But let's have some reviews. So, Rolling Stones said, even in your early 20s, there are some prospects that just make you feel old. Album number 5 from a band you grew up with as a teenager is one of them. Just over 2 years after the release of Suck It and See, Arctic Monkeys are poised to drop their follow-up. After debuting Do I Wanna Know at several shows on their current North American tour, the Sheffield foursome released a studio version in the wee hours of Wednesday morning with no notice. Centered on a brawny, undiluting riff and glam-style percussion thuds, it's one of the most restrained pieces Arctic Monkeys have ever offered. It's a cynical love song driven as much by anxiety as desire. The occasionally maligned Americanization of their sound continues. With a few exceptions, you ever get the feel that you can't shift the tide that sticks around like summer in your teeth, to be discussed later. Ask singer Alex Turner, which hammering up his accent. Touchstones from Are You Mine are present yet again, namely the falsetto call and response from drummer Matt Helders, and a sense of gloom and gravity behind the guitar lead when the twang syncs up with the melody of the chorus. The results are infectious. This one has Josh Holmes' fingerprints all over it, right down to the Go With The Flow inspired music video. It's an interesting one.
Okay.
Rolling Stone put this at number 4 in the best 30 Arctic Monkeys songs.
Okay.
That sound means it's the end of the round. Time for the bonus question.
And just because we definitely needed more content in this episode, I decided to do a bonus round for you to name the free. So they put Do I Want to Know at number 4 in the best 30 Arctic songs at Rolling Stone. What do you think they had as number 3, 2, 1? And I would be so shocked if you got 1. But let's start with 3.
Is it all only limited to the catalog up to AM? Is that what we're looking at?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so but it can be any of the songs before.
It
that.
can. Should I be kind and give you the album, or do you want to go at it?
Are they all from one album?
No. They're often different. But I could give you each track's album if you want, or you can. I'll tell you what. Have a guess, and if you're wrong, I'll give you the album and see if you can get it when I give you the album.
Okay, so we're gonna go 4. So do I want to know is 4? So we got to go 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. What do you think 3 is?
Okay. Maybe not in any particular order, but also 3, 2, 1. What do the Rolling Stone think that their greatest songs are? I'll say Fluorescent Adolescent is up there. 505 and A Certain Romance.
First 2, no. But A Certain Romance is number 3. So you got one of them.
A Certain Romance number 3. Okay. Give me the albums then for 2 and 1.
2 is Humbug.
Okay. Cornerstone.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And number
one
one's album
is another track off AM.
Another track off AM. Okay. I got this. Number 1. It's not gonna be something the best artist. I'm not gonna agree with this. Oh no. Did they pick Arabella? Number 1,
No.
Arabella?
No.
Okay.
And it's so funny because you kept saying number one, but the Rolling Stone best Arctic Monkey song at the 30 is number 1 Party Anthem.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I guess I should have guessed after they picked Cornerstone then. Yeah. Okay.
I would say contentious choice, but actually I know about 3 or 4 people whose favorite Arctic Monkey song is number 1 Party Anthem, which I suppose for some is a surprise, but yeah.
I could see it. Yeah, I could see it. I don't agree, but yeah, I could see it.
I don't get me wrong. Spoiler alert, I love the song, but I don't. I wouldn't have it in my. No, it wouldn't be my favorite song by the stretch, but but I do like it. So the enemy, the ever faithful enemy list.
Oh
that
yeah,
we go to.
here we
For any new listeners, we always go from the enemy list, ranking every Arctic Monkey songs up to Before the Car, which means like 116. Yeah, so it's consistent. So we get them, and they put "Do I Want to Know" at where would you go on? Hazard a guess. Where would you think enemy will put "Do I Want to Know"?
I bet it's gonna be in the top 10. I think it's gonna be in the top 10.
You would be correct. They put it at number 3.
Yeah.
Do I Want to Know?
Mm.
And they back that up with "Do I Want to Know" was simply fated to be a smash. It boasts a blockbuster riff, an anthemic chorus, and the outsized confidence and precision born from a band who are entering their second decade of indie rock sovereignty, and damn right knew that they were at the peak of their powers. The numbers don't lie either. To date, the R&B dabbling song's animated video has racked up over 1 billion hits on YouTube. Yet it also bears another, or 1 trillion to some. Yet it also bears another honourable triumph. This was once the centrepiece of every indie worshipping teen's aesthetics Tumblr page, circa 2014. That is correct. And soon became an internet. The Tumblrs, man. The Tumblrs were what led us to suss out the meaning of Hellcat Spangled Shalala, though. So we can't. Go back and listen to that if you knew. We can't. So we can't knock them. And soon became an internet phenomena, developed into something even greater, a touchstone for a new wildly committed generation of monkey fans.
Yes, correct. That's very
correct. So we're done with the information, thank Christ. Ooh. But we have reached the point of the show, which is for subscribers only, where we do a watch along of the music video, which I'm very much looking forward to, because I have not watched this music video in about 10 years. The only way I've watched this video is if like I've had a YouTube playlist on while I'm getting drunk and it has come on and I've not paid any attention to it. So, but yeah, because as it tends to. Although whenever I'm really drunk, I always have a vivid memory at like these YouTube playlists. So you do just play videos as 90 songs. It'd be like 3 a.m. or something. And Why Do You Only Call Me When You're High comes on. And the way Alex is in that video, I'm like, oh my God, it's time to go to bed. Like, that's it's like, but we're going to play the jingle. For the subscribers, we will do the watch along of the video. And for the non-subscribers, you get a little ad telling you about the benefits of becoming a subscriber. So, of Patreon. The benefits of Patreon. And here we go. The patriarchy of Patreon.
They shot it all in cinema scope.
Love the podcast? Get even more with our exclusive Patreon content. For just £3 a month, extended versions of our episodes, in both video and audio, released a week early with pre-show album reviews specially selected to set the tone for each track. This era's artists include The Black Keys, Ashanti, Outkast, Black Sabbath, T-Rex, Elton John, Leonard Cohen, The Coral, Dr. Dre, Gorillaz, Queens of the Stone Age, and Aaliyah. Also every week, we use cutting-edge software to create AI-generated covers of each track by artists we've handpicked. Playback and commentary on official music videos for single releases. Enjoy acoustic or special live performance watch-alongs at the end of each episode. Post-show debriefs, including our new segment, It's Nothing on the Early Stuff, where we compare each track to the band's back catalogue. Plus, we regularly put out bonus content and watch-alongs. And for all you Shadow Puppets fans out there, upgrade to our £5 tier and get everything above, plus a monthly deep dive into a track from the last Shadow Puppets back catalogue, PLSP watch-alongs, and the chance to choose a non-Monkeys related track for us to cover in our usual format. So, join us now at patreon.com/Arctic Podcast and unlock the deeper cuts, behind the scenes chat, and the Arctic extras you won't find anywhere else.
So don't talk about anything to do with the music video for these freeloaders. Oh, sorry, are we on? So let's. I will bring one thing that we discussed in the chat though into this chat briefly is that this was billed as the second single because of "Are You Mine" being if people are wondering. But I kind of do count this as the first single of AM though in my head because "Are You Mine" was like a year, a good year before. So it's like in my head I put it separately, and I've told you before I was annoyed that it was on the album because it gave me one track less than I want of new stuff, but I get why it's on the album because it kind of triggered the process, so it makes sense. But I'd never consider "Are You Mine" as the first single off this album because I see it as a standalone thing, separate from the album, which is why we did it in between. I just don't. If you were to if someone said to me name the singles from AM, I wouldn't count "Are You Mine" because it was a year before, and I don't go with that shit. I don't go with that. Let's release a song now and a year before we do the album. Like,
it does have some separation, especially when you consider, like, if you look at the vinyl artwork of the singles and stuff like that, "Are You Mine" doesn't match them, whereas they kind of match each other. And but me personally, I do always count "Electricity" as a B-side to AM. So like if I ever, if I'm lumping them together, I personally do that. And I think that "Electricity" matches the sound of AM. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
That is a personal separation that we both have though, as we discussed previously, because I count "Electricity" as a Suck It and See B-side. So there is a fine divide there between us, isn't there? But yeah, I just always bill this as the first AM single, it just feels like the first AM single. But the question is, did they re-release "Are You Mine" when they re-released the second video? That's what I'm interested to find out next week, because if they re-released it, then that changes things, because then that would be the second single. But we shall see. I mean, I think the videos are going to be very interesting to discuss in this one. I have a particular favorite video. From a comedy point of view, that they essentially made I'll just preview it now. They made a rap video on a tractor. It still makes me laugh. So like they shot.
There's
it like
some that
video.
I cannot like. I know. I think I know all the tracks that have videos, but there are several that I cannot picture in my mind.
I think High is
that'll
probably
be fun to get to.
I think High is probably the most iconic because it told a very vivid story and had a kind of thing. And
Alex is
in it.
Yeah.
I think the Snap Out of I've got a lot to say on Snap Out of It, but the Snap Out of It video is god awful, to be honest. But yeah, we'll find out. Did Arabella have a video as well?
It does. Arabella has a video. Yeah, the first 4 tracks that we're covering have video.
Oh, maybe it's the Arabella video I don't like. There's one of them that I really don't like. Anyway, I just think it was a bit lame. I was just like, if you're just going to start churning them out, then let's not bother, because they're normally so impressive with the videos. But here we go. Let's get into the music then. Oh my god, it took us this long. It took us if we take out the subscriber stuff, it took us an hour and 51 minutes before we even got into the music. Wow. So
yeah, for new listeners, I mean, but it's going to be hard to gauge because that, like we just said, the first 4 tracks are going to have videos and like special, they're all singles. And so I would say this isn't normally how the episodes go, but it could be normally how the episodes go going forwards. I don't know. Yeah.
3 hours is usually the norm. So on AM, 4 hours could easily become the norm.
maybe.
Tranquility might be like 8 hours long an episode. I don't know by
Lord.
the time we get just the music section alone.
It's going to be like when films start breaking like one book into like 2 different movies. We're going to be like, okay.
Well, that's how we'll stretch it. Yeah, that's how we'll stretch it out. We'll do like a Netflix season split of these episodes. Yep, God, well, we might have to. Well, you know what? The platform that we use only gives us for free 5 hours of recording time. So, you know, it always has to cap that.
We got to limit it, yeah.
We got to limit it. I had to delete the one we did yesterday because I knew that we'd need the space for this one. But after I copied it onto a hard drive and everything to make sure it's safe. So, I mean, the riff and drums are iconic at this point, right, of this track. That's what you say about the music. It's I love the sound of the drum. It's so simple yet so effective. It is like a lot of hip hop songs, simple but effective.
So one thing I'm gonna reference here because I think it is applicable in a kind of analogy type of way, only with the music and not necessarily the lyrics or the vocal melody or anything like that, but the music. Not too long ago, we are going through the Last Shadow Puppets catalog. We're on the second album, and we talked about a song, Bad Habits, which at this time I found interesting that you associated it with a kind of like a art, like what did you say? It's a
like a sort of avant-garde art piece, like
avant-garde,
like a sort of surrealist art,
surrealist, avant-garde type of art piece. And I thought that was very interesting because as I started to break down my thinking on the music and really honing into the instrumental of this, I associate it with a minimalist art piece, to where you could say this is one of the slimmest type of songs that they have up until this point. They've been very guitar driven, very drums. You know, Matt is such a huge part of this band and the sound of this band, and the bass is always so intricate, and we go on and on about the crazy bass lines, especially coming off of Suck and See. And then you have this track where everything except for the guitar is completely toned down, and the guitar is quite repetitive. But I was like, some minimalist art is about like placing rules onto yourself and trying to work with less and working within a very limited space, or trying to capture somebody's emotion with so few lines, or so one color or something like that. And it really kind of made me put it into perspective of, they're 4 albums deep at this point, and really, when you count B-sides, they've essentially released like 6 albums worth of music, and Alex has Last Shadow Puppets and EPs and stuff like that. And it really is, it feels almost like this well-accomplished exercise in restraint, almost.
Sure, yeah, it's harder to do that, if anything, and that, you know, that's what, when we get to Tranquility, I'll say about kind of Helder's sort of more jazz restraint drumming is actually more impressive than the other stuff. And he said that himself, because restraint is harder, and it's what's the word? It's when you're in the army and you're
discipline.
Disciplined. It's disciplined.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to do that, and to not go and to be confident in it as well. You know, to be able to put it out there. I love it when that one I remember because it was only a couple of weeks ago, but you reference a lot of things that I said in old podcasts when you were a fan, and it feels like, you know, that interview when the interviewer says to Alex, "I heard that you put Suck It and See out on this platform before to get traction before," and Alex goes, "Did we?" He has
Did
no
we?
idea.
Yeah.
That's why when you say these things back to me that sound really impressive, and I go, "Did I? Okay, I said that. Okay." But yeah, it tickles my ego. Simple and insanely, insanely effective. But yeah, to have that discipline, to have that restraint is, yes, it's harder. I know it's something that as someone that writes stuff, it's harder to. It can be hard to do that to not go disciplined and go and I imagine there was stuff that they cut out that they might have tried, and that again that's hard to cut out something that you think might work. And yeah, the guitar being on the 8 string as well. That's pretty. That pretty much is the story of this song, right? Is that he wrote the riff on the 8 string and it never sounded as good as it was going to on the 8 string.
12
so he had to
string
record
on the
it
12
on the
string.
Sorry, bloody hell. We decided it was 12 string after I said 8, and now it's an 8 string again. 12 string, yeah. It's a long. There's a lot of information. Leave it alone. Yeah, 12 string is pretty cool, right? What do you think that adds to it? Because I've tried to watch live. How many strings is he like? What do you think specifically about that adds to it? Is it just depth and tone and?
I don't know. I would almost have to watch him actually play it because it's not
You can only use
again
so many strings at once, right? So
yeah, and the riff itself is not complex either, so it's not like I don't think it's necessarily required, but it could be the way that he is moving down. Like it could be the way. That's the only thing I can think. As it's been a while since I played guitar, but like moving down the strings in the way that the 12 string is tuned or something. I don't know.
it might make that sound like right when you move, it might make that more fluid sound that the song has.
Yeah,
the
rhythm of it. Yeah,
you might not have to. Like, I don't think I see him moving down much. Like, your mind goes like top to bottom, doesn't it? Like, but this is like very in that. Would you say that this riff? We've had a lot of talk on this podcast about the development of the Fake Tales riff to the Teddy Picker riff to the Crying Lightning riff. To the, I'm not sure if there was one else I can see. Can't remember. Is there an equivalent else I can see?
It's Evil Twin is the closest. I think we got
Evil
to
Twin,
it.
the B-side, yeah. And then Are You Mine, perhaps, but I guess Do I Want to Know falls into that. The riffs in the middle of the guitar is what I would call it, sort of thing that they do. Because Teddy Picker and Fake Tales are basically in the same place. Like initially, that's why we started on it.
And it goes to the idea of like a lot of bands. We kind of covered this when we talked about the 20th anniversary of 5 Minutes with Arctic Monkeys. We were talking about Fake Tales, but also too Ritz came up a little bit too. So you have those type of licks that they were writing when they were really young, and they sound simplistic. But again, too, it's with this melody, it is within that vein, because I can't imagine how difficult it would be to also write this separate type of vocal melody on such a distinct, guitar piece. It's a lot harder than I think it would seem, especially with this minimalist as this track is. And I feel like a normal band, I think why so many people get fascinated with this type of song is you would assume the second guitar would like be doing some strumming, putting just some because it would be so easy to put some basic strum chords in there because this is so minimalist, but they don't. Yeah. And it's it makes it that much more distinct, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, to move into that, since you mentioned it does change up slightly because it's kind of the same riff, and then changes up slightly for the chorus. Helders throws in a sort of more subtle cymbal tap as it transitions, which I like. That kind
Tambourine
of, and then
comes
maybe
in.
tambourine comes in, which I was wondering about. We cleared that up in the gear section. But it's kind of just like guitar feedback at this point, isn't it? That comes in. It's just like a sort of like that comes in, and then it builds again. That guitar builds up in it. It has this kind of pause for the chorus, which I love. It's very subtle but effective. It's very brief pause. It's just it's like kind of like a breath. It's like and then going into the chorus, and the guitar just like hangs over that, which I always like. And then it just comes in with basically everything bigger, right, for the chorus. Do you think this is where the 12 string comes in? Is what I was going to say when it comes into
Could
that
be.
like down. It comes right in the riff. It's the same fucking riff, but it just comes in way in a different way that you think it's a different riff. It doesn't even feel like the same riff, which is nuts. Which I guess maybe it was layered as well, probably. But with the kind of production of this album being so intense that it just sort of blasts, and the drums have gone up a notch. Helders is this is what always impresses me a bit. He just takes the drums up a notch. It's not like he's gone off the handle. He's gone crazy. He's just made it louder by bringing in some cymbals and some more drums. It's just gone from here to here. And yeah, that's kind of the chorus, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I would say, so the next part too is really being so familiar with Arctic Monkeys, like especially, going through these songs and going through the instrumentation of like each one of these songs, especially coming off of Suck It and See, where this is their trick, right? They always the second, how many verses do we have? The second verse, everything else kind of drops out, and it's just the bass. And we know what such a good bassist Nick is, and I have no doubt in my mind that Nick could come into the song and add some kind of like rich, intricate, deep type of bass line, and yet we have the most simple thing Nick has probably ever done in his whole life. And it's just like, doom, doom.
Yeah.
It's
What do you think?
Most basic.
But it's perfect for the song, right? I guess is what you
but
try,
yeah,
you,
it is what what I'm trying to say is it's so purposeful because I know what such a good bassist he is.
He could have been like, no,
and it's just the one note. It's just the boom, boom, and it's so restrained that it's knowing them as musical artists. I know almost like how intentional this was for them,
And it's very hip hop. That's part of the underline of it to do that. And what do you think of the sound of the bass though? It's this kind of mad, like I can't even do the sound. It's like it's a very strange sound, isn't it? It's a bass through a distortion pedal through God knows what in the production studio. You know what I mean? Like it's been changed, obviously, I would imagine.
Well, I know he's used distortion pedals, I think, in the past. I think it's come up in gear stuff. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's rich. And I think that makes it even more tempting, honestly, because you do have this moody type of song that is sexy, and bass is sexy. A bass is moody. If you're going to elaborate on any more part of the song, it would be with the bass, with the bassist who in the previous album just cranked out song after song with these amazing bass lines, but you don't. It's just
Well,
it's that much more impressive.
Look at Nick's first song with a distortion pedal. His foray into the band with a song which has no restraints, Brainstorm.
Yeah.
It's the exact opposite of this song.
Yeah.
And it's like that but then in his when it's him and Neld is in that second verse and it's just the bass. Again, he's doing, like you say, he's doing this big production thing. But like to know him, because normally that is where this is the part of the song of the podcast when they follow that format of intro, verse, chorus, drop down to bass and drums for the second verse, which, like you say, is a tried and tested thing. This is normally the part where we start talking about, wow, that incredible bass line that I didn't even realize was that good until I listened to it instrumentally, etc., etc. That happens all the time, and will happen on this album so many times, I'm sure, because this is an album where it's hard to pick what the best thing is because everyone's playing at the top game, I think. But some people think, and this is something that will come up on Tranquility, like I said, with the drums and stuff, but some people think restraint is less, but I would say that restraint is less, but less is more. And that's, sometimes. So,
well, I would just say the fact that this is one of their biggest songs. You have these people who are reviewing who also love Arctic Monkeys, number 3 in the enemy list, and all of these things have these billions of plays and stuff like that. And it really is like, people sometimes will go to the art museums and there will be this thing and it's like a blue square on a thing. And it's like, oh my God, people say all the time, I could do that. And you have this thing where, this is probably one of the most learned Arctic Monkeys, guitar licks, and people are like, oh, it's not that complex or whatever. But it's like, but to come up with it, and to launch that as one of your biggest songs, it's like, that is incredible.
Yeah, and you can even hear the bass line. It would have been almost when you try and apply your brain to it. That kind of like maybe very similar to the guitar riff, but a bit funkier maybe. But it doesn't need it. And I will say this though, because I always felt like this song is really the vocals are leading it in a way. Or that's where your attention goes to what he's saying because it's so sexy and calm a lot of the time, that I hadn't really, until we listened to the instrumental, I hadn't quite noticed how subtle the bass is and the particular sound that the bass is operating at. Particularly the sound, like I hadn't quite heard the sound that much, because sometimes when you hear the real mix versions, the lyrics the vocal performance oversteps the kind of bass. So, but hearing that kind of proper sound on its own from it is very cool sound. I thought of that bass there.
Yeah.
But eventually the guitar and the drums do come back in to this one with the feedback again. And then in the second chorus, the second guitar's feedback seems to be doing more like little subtle notes as well. You can hear these little subtle notes coming in. But then that second lead riff comes in after the second chorus, doesn't it? The second chorus is very similar to the first, but that lead riff, which honestly, I know people talk about the drums and the guitar and the riff of this song. I think the actual secret sauce, the actual thing that makes this song special, is the true triumph of the Jamie Cook. What do we call it in this series? It's not a Jamie Cook jangle anymore. It's a Jamie Cook.
I put it had a kind of a sonar type of sound.
Yeah, it's. And so much so that again they used it as the sound of AM when they're coming on stage. That's true, I think that when you hear it on its own, it's almost sinister. You know what it sounds like? Do you know? And this I think really sets the mark here. And again, Jamie Cook in the background doing the stuff. This sets the tone of the late night, because this song is sexy and sultry, right? But as soon as you hear that, no. It's late night. It's bars.
Yeah.
It's being drunk. It's the possibility of sex. It's all those things in a riff, which is insane.
Yeah.
You get all those notes from a.
He is the mood. Yeah.
He's the
Jamie
mood
Cook
guy, yeah.
mood.
We said it during the car, didn't we? That he turned up with the Moog synthesizer and did the whole sculptures of anything goes. He's responsible for that. So
Yeah.
but he's the mood. He's the mood man. He sets the tone, and I think they've said that. I think there's some stuff in the John Kennedy section. Don't think it's for this track. It might be in the wrap up where they talk about what Jamie sort of gets up to. Cool. But he kind of he curates the studio and gets arcade games ordered and stuff apparently, and pinball machines and stuff. He's the mood setter. He's the mood setter, which is probably way more important than people give it credit for, because what you're doing out of the studio probably is just as important as you do. You don't get the mood. You don't get the mood right. You don't get the album right. You're falling out. You're having arguments. But no, let's go chill in the pinball machines.
The game room, yeah.
The game room, yeah, is just as important, I imagine. I could barely handle a 4-hour practice in a hot room without losing my shit with people. So I just think that is the thing with the way this song builds, and when that guitar comes in, that is the song, that glorious crescendo. That is what I remember from Do What I Know. That's what gave me the chills, because I really liked it. I remember hearing it and being like, oh, this is really cool. I really like this. This is on these vocals, and I'm like, oh, this is this is sexy. This is cool. And then it builds, and that guitar comes in, and that's when I got the chills, and I got the kind of oh wow, this is something special here, and yeah.
Well, and it leaves you with those chills too. As you said, that's kind of how the song is leaving us. Even though it came in with this big guitar lick, and it's been building off of this big guitar lick and stuff like that. And this is something that they've tried to do. And again, we've brought it up a couple times, but like Dance Little Liar, when they were referencing some humbug-esque feeling, I think Dance Little Liar did that. Fire and the Thug kind of did that building, and so, but they leave you with the feeling, the and it's they leave you with the mood, and then the bump. It's like, oof, you just want to hear it again. You just want to like rewind, back.
Let me ask you this. That intro for the live it was a great staple of the AM tour that we opened the podcast with. That great live performance. Do you think the track would have worked with that intro, of the guitar doing that and the build up and then a pause and the drums coming? Do you think a recorded version of that would have been cool? Yeah, I think it would have been nice, wouldn't it? I think it works.
And I think that's probably one of those, they make changes later in live things and add little intros and stuff like that. And I think they realized that probably late. I think they probably realized like, oh shit, like I think if they had realized that before, I think they probably would have maybe included it.
Yeah, because although they are a fan of just a drum start of an album, aren't they? With no building, to be fair. This has to be the Brian Storm View from the Afternoon. She's from the Storms with guitar, to be fair. That's the kind of defining factor. But yeah, all drum starts apart from
that's true.
Suck It and See. Yeah. Well, there you go.
And we'll get more. We'll get more into that in the outro of the episode for sure.
Yes, we will come back to that. Vocals. What do you think of? This is different to what he'd done before. It's the same, but it's different. I would say it's stronger. It's more confident. It's a guy that no longer shies away from the limelight. It's a guy that's singing. He knows what he was doing. He knows what he wants to do. He's more confident than we've ever heard him, I think.
Yeah. Their vocal performance, I think it is kind of unique for Alex in a way, because we talk about, you have these melodic songs, and each time they kind of stick out on an album, except, Second and C was a lot of melodic songs, but, you've got your Only Ones Who Know, and, you've got your cornerstones and stuff like that. But this is, I think, different because it does have that confidence. Because again, it is minimalistic. Even his words, like he's using fewer words, and so he lets it hang more than I think he has in the past. I think even before, in the melodic songs of Suckin' and See, he was still really relying on the lyrics, and I think here he's relying more on the vocal performance than he ever has.
Sure. And I think it's kind of hip hop. Like, obviously back in the early days he did the rapping, and this is still kind of like talking, but the difference between like when a rapper raps and then when a hip hop artist talks, there is a, what I mean? If you were to compare like a Kendrick Lamar rap, or a Dre rap or something, to like a Drake or somebody like that, it's more, or Kanye sometimes does it, it's more talking than rapping, and it's like this sort of vibrant talking. He's kind of doing that more than he's rapping anymore. He's just, and it's very wordy, and it's very storytelling, but it's very slow and it's very articulate, which I think is a big important to its success, is that there's no accent and he's articulate. And that's why one of the reasons it probably hit internationally more is because you can tell every word that he's saying, and it's enunciated, and it's obviously got a vibe as well. So yeah.
Well, it's a kind of more R&B. It's like going from, if you'd say like the first two albums was more rap, and then it feels more R&B because he is kind of singing it more. But it's interesting that you say, I mean, maybe we'll talk about this in the lyrics, but I still, they had mentioned, like some in your teeth, but even like spilling drinks on my SETI, and the way he says certain words still always felt British to me, even though it's obviously not like his.
Well, believe me, the reason we created the jingle is to dispel the myth that they went to American, and we'll get into that in the lyrics, believe me. Because this is known as their big American album, and I agree with it in sound, but lyrically, we can dispel those myths with the language that's used. Even a song like Evil Twin, they're saying "thar knows" in the falsetto is the most Yorkshire. Even people down south in England wouldn't know what that was. But just to touch on the falsetto, Helders and Nick. To be fair, Nick doesn't get the credit, but Nick does the falsettos as well. I love the sound of them, and what I love about them is that a lot of falsettos you hear are just repetitions of words, and they sometimes do that, but and we'll talk about in the lyrics more, but they use it in that kind of 70s soul way where the falsetto says something and the lead singer responds to it. Which I really love that, and I love Helder's style of falsetto. My favorite Helder's falsetto is coming in this era. It's in a B-side though, but I love his "Too sad to see you go," and the development of the Helder's backing vocal over the years, down to what we had as one of the jingles, Your Dynamite, to this "Sad to see you go." It's very sexy as well. It's very cool.
Yeah, and I will even say, so since we're getting into this era, this is something that's going to come up every time, because I think it's in pretty much every song except maybe two that come to my mind. But so the falsetto is going to be something that I think sometimes it's either perfect or sometimes it's too much for me. It's like too much of a good thing. In this case, this is where I want to put the staple of it's perfect. It really is, coming off of, he's been doing backing vocals in pretty much every album. But in the last album, we had things like he was doing brick by brick, for God's sakes. And then, to open this track up with this, and it's sexy and smooth, and it's kind of like this weird sequel from things like Your Dynamite that you would get so long ago, but it's completely transformed and mature, and they're older now. And falsettos here are perfect. These are great.
And we look forward to hearing which ones you think are too much in the future, don't we?
Yeah.
And it's important to note, and it's something that we'll probably talk about in depth on the wrap up when we get there. But important to note that if people don't know, all female-led band Haim were originally supposed to do all the falsettos on this album.
That's right.
But they had to pull out because of other commitments, so they switched tails on that. Which I don't know is an interesting idea, isn't it? It's an interesting. It's an interesting concept.
That would have been a first thing that they did, because they don't do a lot of collab. I mean, Josh, but he was their producer, and
it almost sounds untrue, doesn't it? But apparently it
seems strange. It does seem strange.
I imagine it was born out of a place of Helder's insecurity, thinking he couldn't carry them enough. But then, luckily, out of circumstance, he had to. So, and that's where we are with him. But right before we get into the lyrics, then, if that's everything on the music from you,
yeah.
Let's get. So this is another section for subscribers only. Again, mainly due to copyright issues. Before we get any hate mail, that you give everything to subscribers. We have to. The copyright police are after us.
But to be fair, this episode is still going to be like many hours.
Oh yeah,
long.
man. Gotcha. By the time I cut everything out, it's still going to be a lot. Yeah. I don't think the subscribers will be needing any more content while we're banging out over 4 hours a week of this stuff to try and get through. But just subscribe. It's not a lot. Or just buy individual episodes where you want to hear more. Just do it, man.
Yeah.
Just do it for less than the price of a cup of coffee. You could, or less than a pint. You can be a subscriber. 1 cup of coffee a month. So yeah, let's get into our covers, where we have created some AI cover versions of the song. I guess if you, I don't know, I guess you'll just hear the jingle and then we'll be straight back into the next section if you're not a subscriber, because I don't want to just bombard you with ads. But maybe we'll be cruel and put an ad here.
Do we still talk about who we chose, but they just don't actually hear the song?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
you'll hear our actual choices like before.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Well, I'll play the jingle then.
I'm gonna form a covers band and all.
Yeah, I forgot the format. So Justin, tell us what your choice. I do want to know.
Yeah, so I was really excited about this one because I think this album opens up some really unique potential covers. So I picked the band Deftones, who their lead singer, his name is Chino. Most people know them by. And do you know Deftones? Do you like Deftones at all?
Yeah. I know a few. I'm not deep on them, but yeah, I've picked them up over the years. Yeah.
I love Deftones, and he's even got some side projects. So he's got a very unique voice, very distinct, and I was curious if it would be included, and I was hoping it would be a part of the AI.
So it was not, so I had to create it. And I'll be honest, it hasn't worked out great because there was only really like 2 I could take from, and unlike Nat King Cole, they weren't even as clear. So it hasn't worked out as great, but so in future, I think if they're not on the system, I will ask you if you want me to attempt to make it, or you want to pick a different one. So we'll probably do that.
Sure.
But anyway, let's have a listen to it. And I might cut this in the edit because I didn't have time to cut it in the track, but I forgot this song has such a long intro before it even starts talking that we have to play the entire fucking intro before we get to it all the time. So, but I'll probably cut it down in the actual edit. But just for us, we'll have to listen. So for the subscribers only, here is the Deftones, or Chino Marino, performing "Do I Want to Know." So back to everyone.
I'm very curious what your cover was.
Well, I couldn't get this out of my head because when we did Bad Habits, I think I picked Kanye West or Ye, which I refuse to call him. I was just Kanye West. Let's just say Kanye West. And I couldn't get out of my head the idea of Kanye doing this. So I wanted to hear a sort of hip hop artist doing it. So I applied that one
We went on
for some
opposite ends, didn't we?
Opposite ends, yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that first line was a bit off on the one on yours there, and it's a bit off on this one as well. I don't know why the first line's causing problems, but
Interesting.
But let's have a listen for the subscribers to Kanye West doing "Do I Want to Know." But yeah, there certainly isn't a rock version, which is a shame that no one went into a live lounge and did a rock version. Like I'd like to Queens of the Stone Age give it a go, to be quite honest with you, rather than why do you want to call me when you're high? But there you go. So the lyrics of this one.
Yeah.
More straightforward, but obviously about the drunken urges of wanting to be with someone, and thinking
I like
about
the
them.
Yeah. I like the first line of "Have you got color in your cheeks?" Like to open this album because that's such that feeling.
Well, he's good at that, isn't he?
Little buzz drunk, and but even just also of blushing or of feeling the heat of like it's just it's a good line, good opening line.
In a similar vein to the first album, one that obviously we're discussing at the end of the show, but one that I think is intrinsically linked to this album. We may even at the end of the series do a whole episode on that. But a great opener that sets you, anticipation has the habit to set you up for disappointment. Great opening line to the album, and then have you got colour in your cheeks? It's just perfect for that for what this album is going to do, And then do you ever get that fear that you can't shift the type that sticks around like summer in your teeth? Which, I mean, first of all, you're quite right to do this. Because amidst all the chat of them being too American with this album, in the third line of the first song on the album, he says summit, which is the most one of the most Northern English things that you would say, if anyone's wondering, instead of something. I think everyone gathered that, obviously, but if there's anyone that hasn't, we would say summer instead of something. We would say, "Oh, you got summer," or something like that. So, or something like that. I just said it in the answer by mistake. That's how ingrained it is. That's how ingrained it is into our speech. I accidentally said it twice. So yeah, it's but obviously the line, I guess it's something he's done quite a lot. That idea that you can't shift someone, and he uses a lot of metaphors in previous songs about them being stuck on you in a way, or that them being linked to you by some body part or by some kind of metaphor that I can't think of no immediate examples jump to mind, but I think when we did Sweet Dreams CN yesterday, we may have even been talking about the whole lick and stick thing. He does that. He does that metaphor for the person kind of hanging around you can't shake them, but that also underlying sense of, if you could shake them, would you want to?
I also too, I agree with that, but I think it's important for this track and next week's track, the way that the title is written, "Do I Want to Know," with the question mark, it's like a text. And another thing that this line really sparks for me is almost that feeling that you get when you're like, you get the idea that you're going to text somebody, and then you might think better of it, of like, it's that typical 2 a.m., 3 a.m. booty call. Am I really going to be that person? But like that feeling won't leave you where you're like, I gotta text this person or whatever. It kind of makes me think of that as well.
Yeah, 100%. And we didn't talk about the Are You Mine, obviously talk about it next week when we covered it, because we didn't touch on the lyrics. We didn't talk about the title, but I remember at first being unsure of that and being like, "Ooh, I'm not sure I like the whole text speak of it." But then knowing the song, I was kind of like, okay, I get it. But well, that's another thing as well. The timing of this album is when texting had become a different beast almost at that point.
Yeah.
And things like hitting up, dropping into girls' DMs and dick pics and stuff were in its prime. Tinder was in its prime at that point, and they definitely tapped into all that. Really, I mean, I don't know if you're on just Tinder if you're Alex Turner, or celebrities have special ones, don't they? That you go on, like you can only be on it if you're a celebrity. Like I know, I've heard that, But it's something it does, and you know what? Some that will come up in a couple of lyrics time to link it back again to my favorites of the first album, which again we'll go a bit more in depth on at the end of the show for subscribers. But is the first View from the Afternoon, the idea of texting someone and regretting it. That was in the first song, the album, the first album. In a different way, in a way that a Gen Zer wouldn't even fucking know what that meant, because it was so specific to the Star and Unlock that you wouldn't even know it. But yeah, a lot of the same vibes. I feel like, as I've said before, this first album is the vibes of the first album and this are exactly the same. It's just that's as an 18-year-old and a bit more gun-ho and horny, and this is more as a sort of relaxed 28-year-old person doing stuff. Is a different beast 10 years later.
Anxiety. Well, it's interesting because the anxiety is
different
gone,
anxiety,
but not really. It's different. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah. Another thing that Alex said in the beginning, bigger boys and stolen sweethearts, about girls. I'm sure they still carry it on in familiar ways. Even now, that schoolgirl shit still goes on, So yeah, I mean, he's kind of been priming us for this. No, Grammarly, stop trying to correct Alex's lyrics. Leave it alone. So the next line is, are there some aces up your sleeve? Have you no idea that you're in deep? So it's interesting because when I was thinking about it, are there some aces up your sleeve? I was thinking, is he talking to himself or to her? Because the next line after this kind of implies he's talking to her, right? Not himself.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's one of those. I think it's one of those special Alex tricks where it's both, because, and we even get this in High where he's like looking at the mirror, and I also think it's like one of those moments where you're like practicing what you're gonna say. You got to get that line exactly kind of right. You know what I'm saying? And so I can totally imagine this. Because even the first line could be towards her, or it could be himself, like, oh, you got some color in your cheeks, like you're kind of drunk, aren't you? Like, oh shit, are we really gonna do this? Talking to yourself. But at the same time, it could work as this pickup line of like, you got color in your cheeks, like, are you blushing? Are you falling for me? Are you like, am I getting to you or whatever? I think honestly it's both.
And saying to yourself, have you got an ace up your sleeve to get this girl or whatever?
Exactly.
But also
you got what it takes.
But also asking her, have you got an ace up your sleeve? Because, well, also, by the way, the High video always makes me laugh, because I have this, I had and still do in a way, not about women, but I would have the tendency when I'm drunk to be in a toilet cubicle having a piss, and there might be a mirror there, and I'll have this tendency to talk to myself in the mirror, and I'll be like, so you're having a great time, and I'll just chat to myself in a mirror, like. So I fully get that. When I saw it in the video, it used to make me laugh. I think, oh, Alex does that too, then that's okay. If he does it, then anyone can do it. But with the question too, so have you no idea that you're in deep? Again, could be to yourself, I'm in so deep with this girl, but also he says, have you no idea that you're in deep? I've dreamt about you nearly every night this week. But that could be a flip as well. You could say, I can't believe I'm in this deep, and then flip into her and saying, I've dreamt about you every night this week. And then back to himself and that's how deep I am, that I've dreamt about you every night this week.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, it almost does both. It's almost, you could take it in so many ways, which I think is cool, because sometimes I think it's almost this flip between the confidence that he's showing, but also the insecurity that he has. So when you text people, you're really trying to be on your game, and you're really trying to give the perfect line, and you're really trying to give off this confidence and the swagger. But if you could actually see the person, not through a screen, but in the state that they're in, they're like anxious about picking that line, or like about sending you a text at this time. And so I think it kind of does that sometimes, where it goes between the two perceptions as well.
Yeah, obviously we have talked about that a lot with him doing that, but he's doing it even more so here, even more amped up with that kind of flipping around the narrative. And again, it's not one that I've really ever sat down and thought much about the lyrics in depth because I don't need to, because I think everyone automatically gets that it's both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You kind of you sense it, like
you feel it. You've experienced it, yeah.
Like most hip hop songs, you feel it, don't you? You know. But yeah, I've dreamt about you nearly every night this week is a great, and that's also kind of a play. You know that awful chat line. You must be tired, girl, because you've been running around my mind. You know, something like that. Like I dreamt about you every night this week. It's all, which I've never used, but yeah, it's just kind of playing on that kind of thing. And then how many secrets can you keep? Is an interesting line. It's a nice line. It's just mysterious. The line is as mysterious in meaning as it is in the mysteriousness that it's said. You know.
It is. I think it's Electricity that we cover, where he has a similar kind of line where he was kind of suggesting of like, stay mysterious. I want you to kind of stay mysterious because I want to like discover things about your kind of those kind of things. So I think it's a little bit of play up that similar idea.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what he's doing as well. And then we get probably one of the like more iconic ones that, because there's this tune I found that makes me think of you somehow, and I play it on repeat. I mean, that is so sexy and relatable. It's sexy and it's completely
so
relatable. We all have that.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's his relatable line, tying back to the first album where everybody listens to a line. It's like, oh my God, yeah, I've experienced this is it.
Oh yeah. Again, this is the album, like the first one where you have those like, oh, I've done like it's the relatable album. This and the first album are the most relatable. The others are relatable in different ways, but this is like super relatable. And you know, it was only yesterday on the Sweet Dreams one that I was telling a story about how I sent this to my now girlfriend. I sent Sweet Dreams TN to her because I found it relatable. So, you know, it's you got that, but this is like the sexy song. This is the and you know what? It's kind of I don't want to sound like a wanky film guy here, but it's almost breaking the fourth wall in a way. It's self-referential because this song is a sexy song that you might play and repeat while thinking about the girl. So it's kind of like this is also the song that you play on repeat.
It's meta.
I know I've played this song on repeat when I've been seeing someone, you know, and when after it came out, you know, certainly, I'm thinking about them, so it's become what he's singing about, which is really cool. And then Until I Fall Asleep, spilling drinks on my settee, which again, another non-Americanism. It is a Britishism, the settee. Not even, again, I think it might just be the North. We call it the settee rather than a sofa, or we might say couch here as well. I don't know if couch is an Americanism or if that's another UK one, but
we say couch. Yeah, we prefer at least where I'm from, we say couch more than sofa, honestly.
Oh, okay.
And we say sofa, but we typically say, you know, get off the couch or the couch.
But settee is there, and you know, settee is such a word that it kind of links nicely to I Want to Be Yours and a lot of the northern lingo that are in that, because it's taken from a northern-based poet. But a lot of the lines in a lot of the things they say and do in I Want to Be Yours are very, very northern statements that no one would say. So, which is also insane that people call them too Americanized at this point when they've got a fucking John Cooper Clarke poet in a poem in a song, which is insanely northern. But yeah, the settee, I think that as well. It brings the sexiness down a notch, but in a cool, relatable way, because it humanizes the person, because we've all done that where you've fallen asleep listening to a song thinking about the person, and maybe you were holding and it also implies that 3 a.m. you've had too much to drink, so you've fallen asleep, and you're falling asleep with the glass on your chest and you've slapped it onto you, like it's completely, you know, it's so relatable. Even if you haven't done it yourself, we've seen that in popular culture so many times, the person falling asleep drunk, upset about someone. So yeah, it's very cool. And this is where the falsettos become part of the story, the narrative. So it's, do I want to know if this feeling flows both ways, which is cool, right? Because it's like Helders is saying, do I want to know? Do I even want to know if this is reciprocal? If you're going to be someone that wants it, do I want to know the answer? Maybe not. And I think this is something he's touched on a few times before in the first album, and maybe Suck It and See, the idea that you don't even really want to know the answer to whether you like me or not, because it's so scary. Because if you
you're
don't,
also
I'll be
living in
crushed.
that moment before, you know, which also has its own kind of magic, because it's all built up in your imagination of what's going to happen, you know.
And it's also, to bring it back to the text thing that you said about do I want to know, it has this in my head when I hear that do I want to know if this feeling flows both ways. It gives that anxiety of when you've sent a text, say anyway, you've admitted that you like the person and you've seen that they've read it, but you're not getting a response, and you're living in that hell where there's no response and you're just waiting and you can see it. And that you kind of get that feel like, do you really want to know though? Because the answer could be devastating. Is it better to be left blue ticked than actually know if they don't like you or not? You know, then you can kind of make up a narrative in your own head that they did like you. They just, whatever. But again, you get a sad to see you go. So we're sort of hoping that this isn't kind of a question back. This is more sad to see you go. We're sort of it flips from do I want to know? Although I suppose it's do I want to know if this feeling flows both ways, and then sad to see you go. We're sort of hoping that you'd stay. Maybe on the thing that we're gonna touch on in Are You Mine, which is the Drake Lil Wayne thing that they said about how in rap sometimes Paul response the other way round than it should be. This is kind of that, right? Because you might say, we're sort of hoping that, although I guess you would say, oh, sad to see you go. But in a sentence you would say, oh, I was sad to see you go. Was sort of hoping that you would stay. Whereas just saying sad to see you go kind of gives a different vibe to it. It's like a sort of response. But I like that. Sad to see you go. Yeah, very hot. Very sexy. Very sexy. Well, no times we're going to say sexy in this series.
Especially, too, was sort of hoping that you'd stay. Like, what a great line. Like, oh, you're going already? It's kind of hoping that you'd stay. Like, these little sly suggestions. Oh, man. It captures it so perfectly.
And it's so funny how sexy this performance is, and then the next album he's got. It would go like from sexy guy at a party to sort of drunk uncle at a party. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of on the karaoke. But it's no complaints. It's a great album. But yeah, they're sort of telling the narrative with the BVs, which I like. This is going to be interesting because this is something we talked about last week. If anyone's listened, go and listen if you haven't. On the 30th of May, our From 5 Minutes of Arctic Monkeys discussion featuring the anniversary of the release, which had Fake Tales of San Francisco from the Ritz of the Rubble on it. The next line is falsetto, baby, we both know, which is very sexy. And then that the nights were mainly made for saying things you can't say tomorrow day. If that ain't the sexy 20-year-old version of From the Ritz to the Rubble, the things that you there's things that I can't think the things last night I would say we talked last night
what we talked about made
much sense, and also vibing on the whole, this town looks different today than it did last night, or the things we talked about were different last night. This is a very similar, it's just like a sort of grown up version of that, I suppose.
Absolutely.
And it's so true as well. The nights are made for saying things that you can't say in the day. And sometimes things that you regret saying in the day.
It's also kind of like that pressure line, not pressure, but like that tactical line of almost like there's no time like the present, like, where you only live now in the now, or those types of things.
And the baby we both know, bringing you into it makes it sexier because it's like it's kind of like a cool line that a film person might say, like, baby we both know that the nights were mainly made for the same things. So we say it's about it. It's cool as fuck. You take that falsetto out and it's more of a statement, but the sort of posing it as a statement to her is sexier.
And this run of lyrics too, because they're keeping it very simple, but again, I think it really calls back to some of the things he would do in the first two albums, where he would even talking about the Ritz of Rubble, when we were talking about like how long some of those lines are, that when you hear that old recording, he's like out of breath because he hasn't gotten used to it yet. But this is a long line that's rhythmically kind of difficult that the nights were mainly made for saying things that you can't say tomorrow day. Like that's a very long drawn out line.
Yeah. And it's purposefully so, obviously, but again, it plays into that hip hop rap like wordiness of the first album again, isn't it? Where he's getting so many words in, but in this way, he's just doing it in a different way. I mean, the parallels to the first album are actually insane on this record. But crawling back to you.
Ooh,
this is hot. Crawling back to you. Ever thought of calling when you've had a few? Because I always do. Tell me this: is "had I you" a Britishism? Like, because we would say something like, "Oh, have you had a few? Have you?" Like that, and do the kind
we
of
say it,
maybe. But do you say it? Okay, I was wondering whether that was a sort of colloquialism, the colloquialism corner. that we have. But yeah, again, I think this is a throwback to View From, right? Ever thought of calling them when you've had a few? Because I always do. Is the same as, and you press the star, when you press the star and then unlock, there was verse and chapter sat in your inbox.
Yeah,
It's a similar vibe, right? It's a similar kind of thing. But again, it's the not just the adult version, but the 2013 version, because texting became so much different, you know. And like I say,
there's no
dick pics and
inbox
stuff.
anymore. Yeah, there's
So this is an interesting time to tell this story. Perhaps I have a slight anecdote about Alex, which comes from a friend. Okay, so I don't say it's on good authority. Okay, and it's something we can actually maybe it fits the vibe more for why do you want to call me when you're high. So I'll bring it up again, but we'll briefly mention it. A guy and one of my friends in his old job used to sit next to a girl whose best friend was in a sexual relationship with Mr. Alex Turner for a while. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, and she said whenever basically he was in the UK, he used to hit her up via text, and they would have sex. Whenever he was in her city, in Manchester, I guess, in Manchester doing a tour, he would message her. So very much, and it was around this time as well. So it's very much he was that guy. He was that guy.
Hey, you know.
When he was single, obviously, I'm not saying that he did it when he was in relationships, but there were periods where he was single throughout that, you know. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That is basically that. To think that he does that, you know, like the rest of us. He's only human, right?
Yeah.
And he can probably get it where he wants, to be fair, as well, which probably helps. So, but yeah, then it's maybe I'm too busy being yours to fall for somebody new. Now I've thought it through, crawling back to you. I mean,
That's a
great
good
line, isn't it?
Oof.
This is peak Alex as well. It's like everything from the first album, less so the second album and Humbug, but first album and Suck It and See actually I think plays a part, led to these kind of lines where the way he talks about women has got to this point. Like he's so good at spouting out these cool lines about love and sex and relationships that I almost feel like he doesn't even have to try. I reckon he knocked these lyrics out in like 20 minutes or something. Do you know what I mean? And then just kind of refine them.
Well, he has a similar line, but he's able to take it, twist it just a little bit, and make it fit to this new kind of vibe, because it really reminds me of the line of, if I was someone else for a week, I'd spend it chasing after you. It kind of reminds me of that, but it's different. It's a totally different vibe.
It's a different vibe.
Maybe I'm too busy being yours to fall for somebody new, because it still in some way sounds like a pickup line, but it sounds like one of those pickup lines that when you hear it, you know it's a pickup line, but it's like so good it actually does catch you. You know, it makes you smile, it makes you endeared, it makes you, even though you see through it 100%, it's so clever or it's so good that you're like, okay, yeah, all right, I'm giving it to you, you know.
Yeah, and that is a skill that you touched on there, to be able to take. We can and that's one of the reasons we do the podcast, is because the lyrics are so good, obviously, that we can talk about them. But to be able to identify certain lines in other albums that are the same, but he has catered to the album's style. And maybe that's easier than we're making it, because he's in the mindset of making that album. He doesn't know what he's going to do in the future. We're kind of retroactively doing it, but like it is to write lines, but then like to change that writing style but keep the essence of what you're writing is quite hard. That's like somebody writing, someone who's known for writing, I don't know, it's like Aaron Sorkin going from writing like political dramas to then go, you know what, I'm gonna write a comedy. No, not a comedy. I'm gonna write a comedy horror. It would be so. Yeah, that's not tricky. His style, you know. Yeah, there's some people that can do that, and a lot of people it doesn't work for that try and do that. But you know, it's cool to be able to just change it like that. Like you say, he's gone from making it. It's kind of desperate and grungy in Humbug, and almost creepy and sinister. But in this, it's sexy as fuck. It doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? No point does it feel creepy about the way he's talking about this girl, or although I don't know, maybe in 2025 eyes, people are going to retroactively go back and cancel Alex for his sexual lines. I don't know. But yes, so then we go into, so have you got the guts, which is again probably talking to himself, but also could be talking to her in a kind of ballsy way. Now what I think is the pièce de résistance of the song, the perfect,
the inspiration for the artwork tonight.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. For the subscribers, subscribe and see. But you will see.
You'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Actually, it'll be on your Spotify
Instagram,
right now if you look down. It'll be on the Spotify as well when the icon.
Yeah, sure.
Episode. Yeah.
No, not this one. Not this one.
Okay. Oh no, so you have to subscribe by going Instagram then.
Yeah.
Been wondering if you're been wondering, sorry, I put a G on it there, but been wondering if your heart's still open, and if so, I want to know what time it shuts.
Oh man.
I mean, I have nothing to. The beauty of that line is a written line. I remember when I first heard it, I was like, "Oh man, he's done it again!" Like mic drop. You've managed to write a line as a metaphor and twist it in a way that I can't even believe again. Like you haven't just hit me with a million of them and suck it and see. And he's not the last time he's going to do it on this album. I mean, Arabella, there's like one every line near enough, but like,
and this is a different version to Suck It and See, because it's not like Suck It and See, because he's put us in this setting, and it's really just another, again, talking about buying into these clever pickup lines. It's really just another pickup line to say, are you available? Like, are you seeing anyone right now? Are you open? Are you
exactly.
free?
And you know what? There's a line coming up in another song in Number One Party Anthem where he tells us exactly the difference between Suck It and See and this, and the difference is the line. Yeah. It's not like I'm wanting to fall in love. It's that I want you to do me no good. Yeah, and that's exactly the difference, right? He's not looking for a long time. He's looking for what's the line? He's not
a good time.
He's looking for a good time. Yeah, and that's exactly the story of this album. He ain't looking to fall in love on this album. He's looking for you to ruin him. And I've been there, man. I've been there. Like, I don't want to date that girl, but I want her to ruin my life in a way. You know what I mean? I need to take me through some shit. And I'm fine. He did that in Electricity as well, right? Wasn't there a line, or You and I?
Yeah, because it was kind of like a rebound type of song. Yeah, like there was. Maybe in both of them, honestly.
Yeah. Where it's that kind of vibe of, look, I'm not asking you to fall in love with me. I'm just asking for us to have a good time together, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But the beauty of that, like, been wondering if your heart's still open, and if so, I want to know what time it shuts so that he can get in there before. There are some people that think if you were to put this as a love song, that he's saying he wants to get in there before it shuts because he wants to fall in love with you. But I absolutely don't think that.
I don't think so.
I don't think he wants to fall in love with this girl. Hey, if he did, maybe that'd be a key benefit. But but this is girl at a party, man. This is. Yeah, I want to get in there before I miss my chance. Is basically what he's saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But he's saying that in such an amazing way that I can barely even talk about it. It's so good. Like all I can do is just stand in awe of that line. Like, and that is like an iconic line of the song, right? That's like
it's a good one.
And then Simmer Down and Pucker Up. Simmer Down, is that colloquialism?
Yeah,
or is
we
that,
use that one.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we use that. Okay, Simmer Down and Pucker Up you use, obviously. But I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just I'm constantly on the cusp. Which I like the pause here, the cusp of trying to kiss you. Yeah.
Another line that he kind of stretches out. I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just I'm constantly on the cusp. Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was reading the line.
Oh yeah, I thought you were. Yeah, I thought you were.
Sorry. So it's another line, kind of like the previous one, where he was kind of stretching out longer than what we are kind of expecting because the lines are so short. Another good run, I think.
And it's also a confidence of saying to the girl, like, she's speaking and you just completely cut her off and tell her to quieten down and pucker up, which is almost offensive. But then he kind of placates it by being sexy and saying, I'm sorry to interrupt, just I'm constantly on the... Like, it's like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, I'm not being a dick, it's just I can't control myself around you, I need to kiss you. Which is kind of pretty hot, right?
It's another one of those things that I think it goes both. He could be talking to himself.
Oh,
Justin, shut up and kiss her.
And
like
her up.
Stop trying. Yeah. Like Alex,
that's
shut
true,
up. And like you're trying. You've got it. You're on. Yeah, just go for it. Yeah.
As in sometimes you can talk your way out of it if you just know now's the right time to act. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It works both ways. And I imagine they did both go both ways that night. I do like the way that Hell does with the cusp and the track, that the way they make that line work is really really clever. But I don't know if you feel the same as I do, but we could be together if you wanted to, which is almost kind of insecure and sweet as well, isn't it? That kind of like, I don't know if you feel the same as I do, but we could be together if you wanted to. It's almost like, Yeah, it's got a kind of tenderness to it, like a sort of sweetness to it, but still sexy, obviously. Because the way he performs it is sexy, you know, if you wanted to. And then the pause to the do I want to know. But yeah, love it. I think that's going to be the story of this album, is we're not like going to be deciphering anything. And that's the fun of coming back to this, because I had a lot of fun on the first album just being like, oh, this is so cool, this line.
It again, yeah.
Whereas there was a lot more on Humbug and Suck It and See of like, okay, I got to sit down and write what I think this song's about and give a detailed explanation. Whereas this is just like going, oh wow, that's amazing, and I like that. It's good to have a bit of fun back, because we're certainly going to go back next album to the deciphering. Yeah. And the car's kind of an in-between world where it's straightforward again, but also mysterious.
Sometimes.
That's going to be sometimes, yeah. But that's it, because the song just repeats after that.
Yep.
So if you don't have anything else to say in the lyrics, we can go and have a break from our vocals and listen to their band themselves talking to Mr. John Kennedy.
Yeah.
Too much to discuss over a bucket of balls.
It is Arctic Monkeys on Exposure XFM with Do I Want to Know. It's the opening track to the brand new album AM, which has just come out. Alex and Matt from the band are here to talk us through it track by track. And Do I Want to Know, you were suggesting, Alex, in a way was that one of those first steps towards knowing what this new record would sound like. So was Are You Mine recorded before Do I Want to Know?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah.
that was already
a
there.
Long time
and that was originally thought, well, we want to do that kind of stuff. And then Do I Want to Know materialised and took it in a slightly different direction.
Yeah, but I think it's definitely a relative direction, you know. I suppose what I found most exciting about that Are You Mine was what was happening in the sort of vocal production. So, you know, all the backing vocals on that, and the way they were processed, and how many of them there were, and the sort of scales that they were following, that perhaps nod to a sort of contemporary R&B corner of the musical universe. That was the thing I kind of thought, oh, maybe we should chase after this. And also, like, it's a strong riff, and kind of those two elements are still definitely there on Do I Want to Know. So, but it's just all kind of simplified, and there's a lot more space in it perhaps than there is on Are You Mine. And then it was that Do I Want to Know kind of really came out of a session we did in Joshua Tree before we moved into like our place, the Sage and Sound that we were talking about. We went out there to sort of brown the garlic, if you will, before cooking the feast. So it was a sort of writing session, and, you know, I learned, but some of that stuff that was recorded out there does remain on the record, because we sort of took the tapes back and added to them, and, you know, so the rhythm track for Do I Want to Know was largely recorded in Joshua Tree. And I think that perhaps there's a bit of the desert in that husky drum sound there. I don't know, but I suppose what we realised from that particular song was it can be that simple, you know. And so then after that, when we were working on the other tunes, it always reminded you to, you know, that tune reminded you that it was what you leave out sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, backing vocals and your vocal too, the lead vocal, seem pretty crucial to the whole sound of this album. The backing vocals have this lovely soft feel to them. And who does all those? Is it all you, Matt, or is it the group as a whole? Or
me and Nick did a lot of the backing vocals. Al does some of the, you know, high things as well. But we, I think we spent like a lot of time on it, and going to a falsetto instead of just like shouting.
Yeah,
shouting high pitched.
Shouting cold as the night.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't just shout cold as your night. Cold as the night for the rest of your life. So we me and Nick did a lot of he does like low stuff as well though. Nick, he goes quite deep.
Yeah, he's got the bottom end held down.
Yeah, and I'll take it up there
and everywhere. And Matt's not afraid to climb.
But it works as a treat. I mean, it sounds really good, and you're right. It does sound very contemporary R&B. I mean, if you take the guitar solos out and take your lead vocal out and just listen to the beat and the backing vocals, it would be quite interesting to hear, like either a rapper go on top or a female vocal start kind of sailing up into the sky.
Definitely.
You know?
I mean, yeah, that's sort of what we were going for. I mean, that's a world that we've always sort of talked about and been interested in, and maybe even sort of name checked as an influence before, but kind of, I guess, quite confusingly maybe to some people. Well, but this time I think it kind of, it is. There's definitely elements borrowed from that world.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when the first album came out, you name checked quite a lot of UK hip hop. And I think maybe people thought in terms of your lyrics and UK hip-hop and tied those two together as opposed to the musical side of things, even though, Matt, you often professed an interest in hip-hop beats and production definitely. As well. But this time round, it's a much more American sound.
So cut that off there because they go straight into Are You Mine chart next week. Interesting points there is, that whole stuff about taking out the vocals backing track. And the back BVs, and as much as we say a rock band would be a good cover, it's a shame that a proper like R&B artist hasn't covered it in like a live lounge situation or something like that, But I think interesting.
Joshua Tree was interesting.
Yeah, very interesting, isn't it? And what you said about them being disciplined and restrained, they said themselves, what we learned that what you leave out is just as important. So they can touch on that themselves. Also, a quote of the whole thing. We went to brown the garlic before cooking the main course.
But that is cool because like even God, that's just another group of tapes that would be amazing to have to see the thought process, how things developed, what got left out, what kind of songs were
I still need this Why Do You Only Call Me When You're High in the style of Are You Mine that exists. I need that in my life. Someone has that somewhere.
Hackers,
really interesting. Get on it. Get on James Ford's. Actually, no, he's going through a hard time. Don't get hack James Ford's hard drive. I was going to say maybe they sent it to some of their friends, but we don't want to hack P Diddy's hard drive, do we?
Yeah.
But another good quote was, "You can't just shout cold as the night forever."
I like that. Yeah.
But very interesting discussion on this. I think a lot of the AM discussions are going to be interesting from them because I think they like to talk about it. Although one thing that annoys me with the John Kennedys are that they talk about so much at the beginning that the last few tracks always get a bit of a stiff end because they've run out of time. But by the way, on the UK hip hop stuff is some content that we could do subscribers because I bet you don't like Roots Maneuver and stuff. Are you?
Yeah,
do you even
that would
know
be
what,
interesting.
Yeah. I bet you do. I bet there's some that they've referenced that you probably haven't heard, so that could be interesting. And I don't think interesting what he said about some people might have been confused by his referencing hip hop artists before. But I think if you're a big fan, you kind of could hear that even from the beginning. The kind of the hip, particularly with Helders, with Helders and drumming and stuff. Not that confusing. Oh, I forgot we normally bookend that segment, but I guess I forgot, so we'll do it.
We're still discussing too.
We are still discussing it. Yeah.
Too much to discuss over a bucket of balls.
Like in 4 hours and 5 minutes into the record, there is fucking too much to discuss over a bucket of balls, man. Okay, so we will wrap this up now by going. We're not going to do the shipping forecast. We got way too. Shipping forecast for any new listeners is a segment where we, in response to the girlfriends getting a lot of hate online by nasty trolls, we have a segment where we go through some of the positives about the social media accounts and the guys and all that kind of stuff. But that's for episodes when there ain't as much to talk about. So we'll do that.
That's for 2013.
Hell no, you didn't. Hell no, you did not. But let's get into our favorite lyric, which I think I may have already tipped my hat in that direction. But yeah, we will see.
Too busy with the mind on clever lines.
I'm gonna have to go with "Been wondering if your heart's still open, and if so, I want to know at what time it shuts." But there are a lot of brilliant lines in this.
There are, and I actually did pick a different one. That one is really good, but ultimately I went with one that was just so relatable to me, which was the one because there's this tune I found that makes me think of you somehow, and I play it on repeat. Like music just like holds my emotions sometimes, and when something just hits in the right way that you feel in the moment, and it just fucking play it, and you play it, and you live in that kind of emotion for attached to someone for such a long time. So yeah, that's a great line. Great line.
Yeah, it's probably the most relatable line in the song. Thinking on it, really, isn't it? Yeah. So, in a song of great relatable lines as well.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, let's find out what our favorite musical moment is, which can either be an instrument or a moment in the song or both. You know, we play around with it.
Mad sounds in your ears, they make you get up and dance, they make you get up.
Mad Sounds will be the next, I think, jingle that features as a song because we haven't done a lot of jingles as songs because most of them are from Tranquility because that seems to be the most like line taken, those lyric taken. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Jamie lead riff that comes in later in the song because I just think it's the thing that make people don't think of it enough. I think, but it makes the song click. It just takes it to another level that it wouldn't have without it. I think that is where you appreciate. Sorry, that is where you appreciate more than because a lot of hip hop songs would just kind of carry on the beat until the end.
Yeah.
Whereas having a band do it means that another facet can come in and do something else with it and change it in a way that's and it's still less is more. He's not doing it crazy. He's not doing a massive guitar solo. It's just a kind of crazy. And I think Jamie's always been a less is more kind of guy in a positive way on a lot of the tracks. You know. So,
yeah, he always brings those kind of like crazy little things that you never really think of, and until you start to pull it apart is when you really start to appreciate it. Yeah,
and a lot of riffs that when you single them out work on the like the one in First Adolescent near the end that the guitar going that you can't really hear in the mix, but when you hear it on its own, when I saw them live and they stripped it down to just that bit with the Dion song over it, and you go, oh wow, that's actually really good. Like, he doesn't get enough cred, man. But what is your favorite musical moment?
I just picked the main guitar lick because it's just so iconic. I mean, to the Monkees, to the song, to everything. I mean, it is a really good lick. So and there's not much to pull from in this song, to be fair. So yeah, just pick the main guitar line.
Cool. Well, let's. I'll tell you what. I've got a hot take. It's just a question. I don't want us to like go crazy on it because obviously this is a long episode, but yeah, let's do it.
She flicks a red hot revelation off the tip of her tongue.
Is this the best album opener?
Well, see,
and I'll tell you one thing. I agree with all of them, but I get stuck with the first album opener.
So actually, honestly, this is the question I was going to pose to you for the post wrap up in a way.
We'll try and just give a brief answer and then we'll dissect it in the post show then for the subs. But I honestly I say yes to all of them except the first one is where I get a bit stuck.
Yeah, I would say it carries on. One thing that it certainly does is it carries on the tradition of having very strong openers that absolutely represent the entire sound and feeling of the album. So I think it definitely does that. And one question, even like from a hot take standpoint, since we already played the lick, is I think you could, I don't necessarily think this, but I think there is this potential with this song that needs to be asked, looking at all the stats and the influence that it has, is this potentially the best song that they have ever written? I mean, because it's so calculatedly structured, is like, and it's the most covered song. What makes a song great is its relatability, other people's ability to take it and construct it into something new. Like it could be this, we've said it could be this metal song, it could be this hip hop song, it could be an R&B song. So is this potentially the greatest song they have ever constructed, written from a written standpoint? Maybe
it is. I'd say. I mean, I think it does carry on that tradition, but Yeah, it may be.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. From that kind of positively objective looking at it that way, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
not
could be,
necessarily
yeah.
like, oh, this is my favorite song or this isn't my favorite song, but I mean, is it like
Just
from
as
stripping
as
it
a
down as
sculpture,
a constructed song? Yeah.
Probably. But that is probably a discussion for another day. Or in the post show, we'll touch it again, actually. But definitely our discussion for a. I mean, to be fair, I probably could just do a whole episode on that discussion of whether it's the best crafted Arctic Monkey song, which is an idea for a sub episode. But let's introduce next week's song, shall we? This, for any new listeners again, is the part of the show where I have asked AI to write us a description of the next track, and it is aptly called
You push the button and we'll do the rest.
Are You Mine is a leather-jacketed, lip-biting fever dream of a track, lush dressed up as love, slinking down a neon-lit alley with a switchblade grin and a guitar solo between its teeth. This song isn't asking, it's demanding. It's Alex Turner with a curl of smoke rising off his collar, chasing the ghost of a girl who's all silver lining and velvet mornings, riding bareback through his every thought. She's the itch he can't scratch, the cigarette he lights you to just to watch it burn, and he wants to know, is she his or just passing through his bloodstream like a midnight fix? Every riff in Are You Mine is a hip thrust in a dive bar, every lyric a whispered confession you weren't supposed to hear. The drums hit like a locked bedroom door, the bass is a jealous lover pacing the floor. It's all sweat, adrenaline and anticipation. You're not even sure what you're chasing, but you'd sell your soul to keep up. It's rock and roll with its hair messed up and lipstick smeared. It's the sound of desire begging for clarity. It's asking over and over with a grin and a growl, are you mine?
Nice.
So this is
solo in his teeth. I like that.
Yeah. Well, this is the end of a incredibly packed show. But look, if you're new to the show, I think you pretty much just got the flavor all in one here with this episode.
Yeah.
Beast of an
thanks
episode.
for listening. For the welcome. Yeah.
Welcome. Yeah. And do check us out on our Patreon /Arctic Podcast, but that will be in the show notes to this, so you can scroll and have a look there. And this last section, if you're a non-subscriber, you will just get the credits. So goodbye. We will see you next week for Are You Mine? And if you are a subscriber, you'll get a little watch along with us watching an acoustic version of Do You Want to Know? So to the non-subscribers, see you next week.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, and see you next week for Are You Mine?
Bye.
Don't Believe the Hype is hosted and produced weekly by Justin Toole and Dan Holt. The music used in the titles is royalty-free music courtesy of Les FM. Don't forget to subscribe on your podcast player of choice to be notified every Wednesday when a new episode is released. Sign up with us on Patreon to get exclusive content including coverage of The Last Shadow Puppets, Arctic Monkeys adjacent album reviews, and concert watch-alongs. If you want to help us out further, be sure to like and review to help make us more visible to like-minded souls. We'll see you next week with more of the same.